Show. Morning, Greg.
Thank you, Rory. Have a fantastic day. Yes, indeed, it is the 9 till noon show, and at 9 o'clock it's time for a news update, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. There's a growing sense of unease in the Ukrainian capital after new satellite pictures have revealed the scale of Russian military forces heading for Kiev. A convoy of trucks, tanks and other vehicles is 40 miles long. British intelligence suggests the Russian advance on Kiev has made little progress in the past 24 hours, despite increasing artillery strikes. However, Tim Septunga from the London Independent, who's in Kiev, says initial optimism that Ukrainian forces were holding the capital is now fading.
The mood again is one of deep apprehension. I mean, there was a certain amount of optimism that after 6 days of attacks, Kiev is still standing, but of course, this is just the very first phase of the war. The second phase, a far deadlier one, is about to begin.
A West Donegal councillor says if dog owners don't take control of their animals, farmers will have no option than to take matters into their own hands. Councillor Michael McClafferty says the frequency of dogs chasing sheep in the area, particularly in the vicinity of Creaslam, is worrying. He raised the issue a number of weeks ago, but says since then the situation has escalated further. He's urging all dog owners to be responsible.
I would just appeal to all the dog owners, visitors alike, just please keep your dog under control. Keep him, he or she or whatever you have tied up, from your poodle to your Alsatian. Keep them under control, keep them at house, know where they are at all times. If you're out with them out and about, the greenway, the beach, through the forest, whatever, along a backcountry road, keep them on a lead. And if he's not on a lead, at least keep him under control.
Gardaí say they'll be conducting high visibility checks on routes right across the country today as part of National Slowdown Day. More than 1,300 speed enforcement zones will be monitored over the next 24 hours, with the operation due to end at 7 tomorrow morning. The Road Safety Authority says almost a third of road deaths in Ireland are caused by speed. And Irish Water is under pressure to fast-track upgrade plans for Inch in South Inishowen. Since the weekend, there have been 2 more outages in the area, leaving hundreds of homes without water supplies for a time. Irish Water gave a previous commitment it would carry out the necessary works in the first quarter of this year. And Donegal County Council Cathaoirleach Jack Murray says Irish Water must make good on that promise.
Well, it can be described as an inconvenience at times. It can be much, much worse for people with children, elderly people who are sick. You just can't go without water. It's an essential service. So I would call on Irish Water again, while the funding is secure, to please carry out these works ASAP and please prioritise it above anywhere else, because I don't know of anywhere else in County Donegal that goes so frequently without water.
Any lingering frost and ice will clear this morning, leaving a dry and mostly bright day with long spells of sunshine, some patchy cloud at times through the morning and afternoon. Highs today 8 or 9 degrees Celsius in a light easterly breeze. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
It's not just that Sammy has lost his home in the conflict. It's not just that everyone he's ever loved is gone and he's been forced to walk hundreds of miles alone to find safety. And most of all, it's not just that Sammy is only 7 years old. Like thousands of children in regions torn apart by conflict, Sammy is living in fear, and it's not just. This Lent, your love can make all the difference. Visit trocra.org or call 1800 408 408. Trocra. Until love conquers fear.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, a very good morning. You're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show on this Tuesday, the 1st of March 2022. It is the first day of spring as far as the meteorological side of things go, I think. So hopefully it's a bit warmer than it was overnight today. The lines are open for you right now to get involved in the conversation, to have your say, to raise your issues, to get your message across. Caroline's taking your calls on 07491 25000, 07491 25000, and you can WhatsApp and text us into the show as well. It's the same number for both. 086 60 25000. You can watch the programme on social media. Go onto our website, highlandradio.com. You'll see the link to watch live there. You can watch it on YouTube in your browser or go straight to YouTube and comment there. Just be involved, of course. Let's start with a look at the newspaper. And by the way, of course, a big thanks to Donald, who stood in for me while I was off for the last couple of days. On to the newspapers now. The Donegal People's Press. Flying from Dublin, Donegal to Dublin can be cheaper than by going by car. That's the added appeal of a service being operated by Ireland's newest airline. This, of course, because of a subvention. Emerald Airlines began its services on the Donegal Airport to Dublin route last Saturday, and it's possible to make a return trip for less than €60. With fuel prices for motorists soaring, the price of a litre of unleaded petrol is now hovering around the 180 mark, with diesel about 6 cents less. The cost of driving has accelerated. According to the AA mileage calculator, a car trip from West Donegal to the capital now typically costs in excess of €30 each way. The Derry Journal this morning: appeal as Inishowen homes are burgled. Inishowen Garda superintendent has urged communities to look out for each other and also their neighbours after a spate of burglaries on Saturday. Superintendent Gretty Sheridan was speaking to the Journal after the opportunistic burglaries in Donegal in one day, 4 of which were in Inishowen. The instances, which occurred at various times on Saturday afternoon, occurred in Ellachbeg in Burnfoot, Main Street in Newtown Cunningham, Monets and Spinog in Burt, and Connibur in Lifford. And I'm sure we'll be mentioning those appeals as part of the Community Garda information slot coming up just after 10 o'clock. OK, on to the nationals now. And as you can imagine, the situation in Ukraine. Never did you imagine, did you, that you would see a European city effectively being shelled indiscriminately as it is. And God help anyone in Kiev with the level of Russian artillery and equipment and soldiers that's marching or making its way in convoy to that city. Still around 3 million civilians holed up in Kiev. But the Irish Times this morning: Ukraine accuses Russia of killing civilians in missile strike, and anyone who's seen the footage would see it was indiscriminate. Ukrainian officials accused Moscow's military of killing at least 9 civilians and injuring dozens in a missile strike on the 5th day of a Russian invasion that has caused more than 500,000 people to flee to the European Union and drawn sweeping sanctions from the West. Fierce fighting continues despite talks between delegates in Kiev and Moscow and a call from French President Emmanuel Macron in Russia to Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin, who met officials in the Kremlin to discuss the impact of Western measures that severely weakened the trouble and threatened to plunge Russia into deep economic isolation. And the problem is that, of course, you know, it's a unified response worldwide, but it's painting Vladimir into a very, very difficult corner, you know, particularly with stuff like access to YouTube and Twitter being banned, football, the team's being chucked out. Now, of course, on the face of what's happening, that seems like nothing, but he can't hide that from the Russian people either. He probably thought he would go in and have Ukraine in his back pocket by now. That's not how it's happening. And of course, Russian soldiers are going home in body bags. So what does he do next? How does he get an out from this? And that's the worrying thing, because he does seem unhinged. There's been a huge response to what's happening in the Ukraine, of course, not least from Ireland, as reported in the Irish Independent. Ukrainian aid appeals across Ireland have been flooded with donations from people horrified by the Russian attack on the East European country. Social media has helped supercharge the aid campaign, as organisers said the response of ordinary families to the shocking events in Ukraine have been unbelievable. The move came as some localised consumer boycotts began of Russian-made goods, including luxury food and drink products. A number of Irish holidaymakers have also cancelled high-end breaks to Russian cities, including St. Petersburg. And of course, you know, what's happening now is there is some food in the likes of Kiev and the other major cities, but that is running out. And in a few short days, you're going to have millions of people unable to feed themselves. And that's a whole other level of crises. We're going to be speaking to people from Ukraine living here and hopefully in Ukraine as well throughout the course of this morning. So stay tuned for that. The Irish Daily Mail. Eamon Ryan has thrown his 2 cents into the conversation. He believes the very best way for the EU to take on Vladimir Putin is to stop buying fossil fuels from Russia. The Environment Minister said the money the EU sends or spends on Russian oil, gas and coal goes towards funding Vladimir Putin's army. The Green Party leader made the comments yesterday ahead of a meeting with EU energy ministers in Brussels. I had a meeting last night with some of our European Green colleagues. He said in advance of the meeting today, we're working in closer collaboration to try and address the underlying security risk here. And of course, you know, that is maybe part of it, I don't know. But it just seems that we might need something a little bit more than that as well. The Irish Daily Star today, the two Johnnies, they're two guys that have been very successful, they're very popular, and this kind of often happens whereby, you put a lot of content out there, say for instance in podcasts or on your own platforms. The likes of RTE like what you're doing and they pick you up, and then your previous podcasts or what you've said in the past can come back to haunt you. Well, the two Johnnies said they are still in the dark about their fate on RTE after they were accused of airing sexist and insulting content on their podcast. Johnny Snacks and Johnny B were blasted last week after they aired material including "Tires are like women, no good unless they are squealing." It came in their Spotify podcast and in video clips used on social media to promote their new 2FM show that launched last Monday week. But was this two lads just having the crack? Or are we in 2022 and people in positions of responsibility, two fellas making jokes about women and them being easy, etc., or they're squealing, is that unacceptable? Some people might think it's censorship or others would think it's, you can't be at this crack nowadays. But anyway, it came in their Spotify podcast, as I mentioned. Following a public backlash, RTE pulled their 2FM show Drive It with the two Johnnies off the air last Thursday. Amid a review, the comedy duo from Tipperary apologised for any upset caused over their comments and yesterday told how they have had an effing poop week, as you can imagine. All right, I'm sure they'll allow a little bit of time, a few more apologies, and then they will be back on air. And finally, in the Mirror for this morning, the Irish Cancer Society accused mortgage and insurance companies of punishing survivors by making it harder for them to get cover. It claims a person's medical history is used against them as an obstacle to accessing services. The charity is now calling for legislation that gives cancer survivors a right to be forgotten 5 years after treatment. And this is something I'm sure affects hundreds of people listening to this show this morning. The Irish Cancer Society reports almost 50% of people affected by the disease have claimed insurers were difficult to deal with, while 25% could not even get a quote. Its Director of Advocacy, Rachel Morrow, said people affected by cancer feel they're being punished for their past diagnoses. It's time that we brought in legislation on the right to be forgotten beyond cancer. Okay, that was a quick run through of the papers. We've got lots to get through, of course, this morning. So we'll take a short break and then we will be right back with our first guests on the show.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
With passengers boarding for the holiday of a lifetime, please go woo!
Highland Radio wants to send you on the holiday of a lifetime.
Worth €10,000.
Plus $5,000 spending money. Woo!
Get your ticket now at highlandradio.com. Answer the question and start packing. Start packing.
Woo-hoo! Draw takes place April 14th on the 9 till noon show.
Get your ticket early and enter a bonus draw for an extra week's holiday in Turkey.
Two for the price of one.
Start planning your ultimate getaway. Only on Highland Radio.
Study at the College of Agriculture, Food and Rural Enterprise this September. Caffrey is Northern Ireland's specialist agri-food and land-based college with campuses at Greenmount, Antrim, Loughry, Cookstown and Enniskillen. Discover courses in agriculture, food, horticulture, equine, floristry, veterinary nursing, land-based engineering and business. Join our virtual open week each evening on Discover Caffrey Facebook from Monday 7th of March. For event information visit cafre.ac.uk.
Around the Northwest with John Breslin will launch Read DL 2022 with an outside broadcast at LYIT on World Book Day, which is this Thursday, March the 3rd. Read DL is an annual one book, one community programme. So to hear all about this year's chosen book and to find out how you can get involved, tune in to John Breslin on Around the Northwest this Thursday from noon, live from LYIT for the launch of Read DL 2022.
Once there was a boy called Adam who sent a hog to some incredible places. This St. Patrick's Day, An Post and Adam King need your help to send 100,000 hogs across the world.
Kate Mila Hog.
Get a free hog postcard with any purchase at your post office or onpost.com. And when you send it, we'll make a donation to Children's Health Foundation and Cork University Hospital Charity. Send Kate Mila Hogs. Send joy. Send love. An Post. For your world.
Bye.
Okay. We're joined on the programme now by Oksana, who is from Ukraine, living in Letterkenny. Thank you for joining us this morning, Oksana. How are you keeping?
Good morning. Hard to say how I feel right now.
Okay, and I also want...
It's tough.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I also want to welcome onto the programme as well Maxime, who is in Ukraine, your brother in the area of Kremenchuk. Maxime, good morning to you.
Good morning.
How are you keeping, Maxime? Where are you as it relates to, the bombing and the other Russian activity that unfortunately we're seeing unfold? Are you close by?
I am fine. I live in central part of Ukraine, in Kremenchuk city, Poltava region, in the central part of Ukraine.
Yes, and how worried are you with what's happening to your country? It's awful to see, isn't it?
Please slowly repeat your question.
It's very difficult, I'm sure, for everyone in your country to see what's happening.
Nowadays, our country is not very good because people are scared. People create the territorial battalion. Most of them go to the army. All people help them. There are cook, eat, buy products, transporting medicine helps. Many people create Molotov cocktails and helps our army.
Did you think this would ever happen?
Repeat?
Did you think this invasion would ever happen?
Unfortunately, I don't know what has happened because Putin's attack in Ukraine.
Yes. I understand. Well, Maxime, you stay safe. I know you haven't spoken English for some time. We appreciate your time this morning and the assistance that you're getting with the translation. I'm joined also by, as I said, Maxime's sister, Oksana. I think he did quite well given the circumstances that he hasn't spoken English for some time. Oksana, what's it like hearing, your family's voice on the other end of the line, knowing what's happening over there?
Well, I'm started every morning from the calls. That is what I do nearly half of the day, just to make sure that everyone's safe. I have a cousin, right now she's in Kiev, and she's just praying every day to survive, because what they hear, what they see is terrifying. There's real bombs, real rockets, and it's not a joke. People dying, people injured. Right now in Kiev, they have problems with the food, with necessities. It's 3 million people, so that's terrible that that's happened in 21st century. And other big cities like Kharkiv and Kherson, that's also big city. Kharkiv is 1 million people population, so they don't have access to basics because people trapped. And unfortunately, Russian side doesn't allow evacuate civilians, and this is, I think, the main problem. They basically shoot in houses, apartment blocks, city center, all infrastructure. At the moment, half of the city doesn't have any heating, any electricity. So that's terrible. That's a war crime.
And when you see how difficult it is now, and as you mentioned, food supplies are running out, but also the amount of Russian soldiers, tanks, and other equipment of war that it's bearing down on Kiev, as you say, 3 million people in that city. One can't help but feel that the worst is to come.
Honestly, I believe in our army. I believe in people's solidarity. They supporting every Ukrainian now, like one. People doing things, volunteers. I know friends who used to live not so far from Kiev and from Boryspil. They wanted to leave, they wanted to run, but now they stayed, and their way of thinking, no matter what happens, we're going to stay and we're going to fight. So they do. This is the story, a real story. My friend is cooking food, and her husband has delivered that food to volunteers, to everybody who participated right now, because it's very tough times, and every little help matters. So if we have, like a nation, such a feeling, no matter how many soldiers come, no matter maybe how many cities we lose, and maybe we destroy half of Ukraine, but people will still stand by, and I believe that we will win, because that's our right as Ukrainians, as a nation, to live on our own land, to be supported, to have our own voice, and to not be dictated our choice by bombs, rockets.
What, I mean, did you, I asked the question to your brother, and I appreciate him trying to converse with us, but obviously he hasn't spoke English for quite some time, but he did very well nonetheless. When we were talking about, Russia building up on the border and what might Putin do, did you ever think, or did you fear he would actually go to the point of a full-scale invasion, that he would start shelling a European city? Did you think that was ever going to happen?
No one believed in it. Till the last moment, everyone was thinking, we live in the 21st century, that's impossible. That's impossible, they just come and went and start shooting. But he just did it. And it's like, the shock first 2 days probably gone, and now reality, and everyone in the world see that's happening. And I think it's a big sign for European community and other countries to see that Ukraine is just one country. Who will be next? If that's possible in the 21st century, one country can destroy another just because. So what world we live in tomorrow?
And if he's successful in Ukraine, who is to say that, Poland or Finland or Sweden may be next? We don't know what his plan is. He's completely unpredictable. Is he trying to, reassemble the USSR? What's he, what is his end game? We simply don't know that, because it's not really even clear what his end game is in Ukraine.
Yes, no one knows. But I think for the people who now sitting on the basements, praying for ends to go by and trying to live the life in such a hard times, they don't care about his plans. They don't care who will come. They want a peace. They want to leave. Kids, pregnant woman who's sitting now in the basements, how they feel. And I think that's important to Russian people know about that. Unfortunately, they have very little access to information about going on about Russian media.
Have you spoken to any Russian people, Oksana, to sort of, I don't know if you have a relationship with any Russian people, but just to, I wonder what your average Russian person thinks is what's happening, or what they want to happen?
We have a friends, Russian-speaking friends. They live in Dublin now. They used to live here. So they have relatives. Of course, they have talk about the situation. And all these talks are ending by fights, because they see only Russian media and their point of view, and they don't want to accept the fact that situation is not just quite different, as opposite. There is a war, and that's terrifying, because they don't see, they don't know, they have no access, and I think they don't want to know, because that law lives in lie, that it's hard to believe from one hand them for that, because it's not their fault. From another hand, if they don't wake up and if they don't at least start asking questions, they will never support Ukrainian will to be independent. They have to stop this war. Unfortunately, Ukraine have no military power to do so.
No, so and ironically, that nuclear power was given up under the promise that Russia would protect it from aggressors, and here we are now. Russia is the aggressor. What do you think, Ozana, of the international response? I think in terms of, doing things that could literally pitch NATO versus Russia in what effectively would be a third world war, has the international community gone as far as it can, or do you think more could be done?
It's a very hard question because I believe they put a huge effort, and what they do, every country now helping on different levels, but they do it. Unfortunately, it's not enough, and everyone understands that, especially for people who now dying right now while we talking, and it's kids dying and it's women dying. It's hard to believe. Mm-hmm. So no matter what they do, all of this will work, but later.
Are you getting any comfort from, you'll see locally, and we're going to be speaking to Paul Kernan shortly, locally people, you see posts on social media, how can I help the people of Ukraine? Where can I donate? That's happening in this country, it's happening in others. As a Ukrainian, there's so much negativity going on. Are you getting any comfort from, regular people's solidarity and wish to help you and particularly your fellow country people in Ukraine?
After this conversation, I'm heading to Paul Kernan because they organize an event to support Ukraine and donate money, and that's all help will go to my country, and I appreciate that. Since the first day, I got calls, messages from people I even don't know. They're trying to help, they try to say good words, prayers, and I'm touched that people even don't know me, thinking about Ukraine, thinking about Ukrainians, and for me, it's very important.
I mean, it's hard to imagine that you've got family and friends, people you went to school with, in a war as we speak. Like they're armed and they're in a war, and also regular people who aren't necessarily, of army members being given weapons. I mean, that's what's happening, Oksana, isn't it? I mean, I don't know if your brother has been given weapons, or perhaps he possessed them by the state, but I mean, it's just unimaginable that that's what's happening. Guns are being handed out to civilians. People are making Molotov cocktails and throwing them at tanks as they drive past at speed. That a lot of people who aren't involved in the military at all are part of this, of course, this defence.
No one imagined that, but we all know history. We all know Second World War. Every person was trying to help, I think, just to defend, not even politician point of view, their lives, their houses, their homes, their towns, cities, villages, everything. Everyone's trying to protect what they love, the family. Now there is no differences between people. We all like one family, and it's hard for me to see that I'm not there.
Okay. Oksana, listen, thank you very much indeed. I'm very sorry what's happening to your country and to your family and your friends, and of course you as well, albeit you're living in Letterkenny now. But thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Right, okay, so I said people are doing everything they can. Of course, today is Pancake Tuesday, so, you use it to try and to gather up support and help. Paul Kernan, coordinator of the Donegal Intercultural Platform. He joins us on the programme now. Paul, tell us what is happening today, how people can help.
Good morning, Greg. Well, we had just so many phone calls and emails and people calling into our office saying, what can I do? How can I make a difference? How can I help? And we thought the simplest thing to do would be to open the office. We're in fact going to have the office open for the whole month of March if anybody wishes to make a donation. And what our advice has been is the most important thing really right now is money, because we are going to channel some resources through UNICEF, through the Children's Fund, and through a charity based on the Polish border. And that organisation, Polska Akcja Humanitarna, they do humanitarian work, and right now they're focusing on supporting the Ukrainian families as they get off buses, trains, and walk over the border. Today, from 11 to 1, as you said, we're celebrating Pancake Tuesday, so we thought, well, let's have some pancakes for peace. And if people call in and make a donation, they can get a cuppa. Oksana, who spoke so well there a few minutes ago, she's going to join us. And we're asking people to call in solidarity and have a cuppa and put some money in the bucket. And that's the very simple thing that we can do today and in the days that go forward. I think it's shocking to think that even if some solution was found tomorrow, the tragedy and the humanitarian crisis will run for weeks, if not months. So it's really important that people who can do something and are able to maybe make donations can do so.
All right. So it is. When did you just remind people when it's open? Sorry.
The office is on Oliver Plunkett Road, just the same side in Letterkenny as the library, and it's from 11 to 1. And the office will be open for donations if people want to put their head around the door and drop some money in for the whole month. But between 11 to 1, we'll have Oksana there. We'll have the kettle will be on, and pancakes will be offered. In
terms of logistics of getting stuff out there, I mean, there are avenues already in place, aren't there, that can be that this can just filter into. There are. I'm aware that colleagues of mine in Falcara at Publicilla, they're actually organising a donation venue in the charity shop in that town, and others across the county are doing similar work. I'm aware that a truck is leaving today from Dublin. There's a Ukraine-Ireland export business based in Dublin, and they're organising a truck of mainly medical and sleeping bags and similar goods today. And we are liaising with that group because we suspect that there will be a greater need for sleeping bags and medical equipment. I mean, it's sort of tragic to see. We asked them what do they need, and they said first aid kits, sleeping bags, and tourniquets. So it sort of tells you the awfulness of the humanitarian crisis. We will be liaising, and we'll be putting word out through social media and with colleagues in other community organisations, just so people know where they can help and how they can help. I suppose, Greg, one other thing I would say, if there are any other people from Ukraine living in Letterkenny or living in Donegal, to maybe make contact with the intercultural platform, we may be able to offer support. We might maybe just go and visit family, reach out and really offer what assistance we can, that people shouldn't feel alone. Yeah, okay. Listen, thanks for that, Paul. I appreciate it this morning.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay, take care of yourself. 086 60 25,000, that's the WhatsApp and text number, 07491 25,000. Thanks again to Oksana and her brother Maxim, who's in Ukraine. He's in the Kremenchuk area, very close to where the bombing is happening. We got some information from him, but as I'd mentioned, and we went into it with our eyes open, obviously, in terms of his English. He hasn't employed it for quite some time, but still did very well nonetheless. Okay, back with more after these.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. New O'Neill's Donegal range in-store and online. Home jersey available in many options for men, women and juniors. New Donegal goalkeeper jersey out now. Donegal O'Neill's Harlem range with new jackets, hats and snoods to help you show your colours. Look the part, play the part. In-store or online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Hi, Dad.
Just popping on to say hi, love.
How did you manage to video call?
I'm a bit of a computer whiz these days.
I can see that.
And it's not just video calls. With High Digital's free online course, Paddy also learned to do the grocery shopping. And you can too.
So how are you, Dad?
Hang on, I've a very funny gift to send you. Or is it GIF?
Learn essential online skills today at highdigital.ie. Brought to you by Vodafone Ireland Foundation, Active Retirement Ireland and Alone. Vodafone, together we can.
It's exciting times at Hillside D-Max in Letterkenny because they've moved, but not too far. Their new kitchen design studio is now open at Curralees on the other side of the Mountaintop Roundabout. This new studio showcases the latest kitchen, wardrobe and slide robe designs with D-Max renowned attention to detail and exceptional quality. Hillside D-Max, in the heart of your home since 1994. Now at Curralees, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
And you are very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. And I'm very pleased to welcome into studio now the Canadian ambassador, Ambassador Nancy Smith. You're very welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks very much, Greg. It's great to be here.
Right, you arrived here yesterday and your last day, I understand, is today. What is the purpose of your visit?
Thanks very much, and thanks for welcoming here. Just before we turn to that, I just want to say I heard the listeners, the folks phoning in from the radio, and just absolute solidarity with Ukraine, and it's wonderful to hear the outpouring and the support.
But it's an awful situation, an awful global situation. You know, it is not isolated to Ukraine, or we shouldn't perhaps be naive to think it is. This is a very serious situation for potentially for the world.
No, absolutely. I mean, Canada, we've joined Ireland and European Union and other nations in strongly condemning the aggressive actions. It's, as you say, it's a great threat to not only the Ukrainians, but to overall rule of law, to human rights, to democracy. And there's a huge amount that is at stake. And just as your listeners and those calling in have said, just the scale of the humanitarian crisis is also just extremely, extremely frightening. So it's wonderful to be here in Donegal, and I think all of us, no matter where we are, our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers are in Ukraine. So
yeah, and this is you know what you're here for, increasing improving relations. Although they're excellent already, of course, between Canada and Ireland, but commercial ties, working together. That's how you help people, isn't it? And it's almost a direct opposite of what we're seeing. So, tell us about what you've been doing so far.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. I'll just say it's been a bit of a mix of personal and work. So
always it has to be.
And you can't come to Donegal and not. And it's my second time here, so you can't do one without the other. So I've just been the last couple of days. A couple of things on the go. One is I was invited to come as an observer to the International Fund for Ireland. So that's an organisation that's been going for a very long time, since 1986, in fact. Canada, as you may know, had played a role in supporting the peace process and the Good Friday Agreement through General Josastine, amongst others, and has been an ongoing supporter of the International Fund for Ireland. And so they're at a really important juncture right now, as they are entering into a new strategy, and they've invited some of the international partners who sit as observers on the board to hear about the deliberations and to hear some of the work that's underway in terms of programming, including in areas like support for youth programs and some of the cross-border work that they're envisioning. So that's a part of it. But while I'm also here, it's been great to sit down and meet with some of the local leadership. So I had a chance to meet with the mayor yesterday, with Jack Murray, but also to meet with some representatives from the Chamber of Commerce in Letterkenny, who are doing great work, as well as with the Donegal County Council, with the Letterkenny Institute of Technology. And then also an interesting organisation with Canadian ties, including to Newfoundland, called the Laurentic Forum, which is looking at ways in which countries that share the coast can talk about sustainable approaches to coastal communities. So as you said, there is a lot that we have in common. We have a friendship, we have an economic relationship, we have a political relationship, so it's been great to come and do this outreach here.
And your visit here comes just a couple of weeks ahead of the local minister here. Well, he's local to here. He's a national minister, of course, Charlie McConalogue, who's travelling to Canada. Obviously, I think most of us know people that are over in Canada. They're working over in Canada. I'm not sure how many Canadians actually live here. Is it a bit one-way traffic? Do we benefit a little bit better from our relationship with Canada? Are you here to sort of say, we let's have a little bit more in the other direction to both of our benefits?
That's a great. One of the things I'll say is that Ireland does a fantastic job in terms of its tourism, and I certainly was contacted very early on when I arrived here and came to understand that Canada represents the 9th largest market for
You're in the top
tourists.
10.
Yeah, we're in the top 10 to come to Ireland, and indeed we'd love to see more Irish going to visit Canada. I think there has been a significant amount of interest, and so that traffic has gone two ways. In terms of economic cooperation, in fact, Ireland's also done very well in terms of the trade agreement that we currently have provisionally applied. And of course, I mean, what we're really looking forward to is getting some of those direct flights with air carriers such as Air Canada and WestJet, but of course also Aer Lingus starting to get some of those direct flights coming to support
because
that
that's almost
two-way.
like a light switch, if the flights are made available, if they're direct, so it feels convenient. People will
That's
flock
absolutely
through them,
right.
and then they'll come back with their stories of how amazing Canada is, and so on and so forth.
That's right, yeah, and there is that two-way flow, and one of the things that I was really interested to hear about in my discussions is something called the Donegal Diaspora. So, I mean, there is, of course, a particularly close relationship between this part of Ireland and Canada, where a number of Irish went to Canada. You asked how many Canadians are here. I don't know how many are here in Donegal, but I think we would understand that there's over 5,000 Canadians spread across Ireland, and a number of those would be also students, including studying at a number of the schools, doing medical studies and other studies. So that those people-to-people ties are really what the kind of the glue that binds us, and is really the foundation, for everything else.
If people were looking to visit Canada, and you can't say all of it, where would you suggest? Where would you, if someone says, where should I go? Where do you tell them to go?
Well, I mean, I think...
now we're going to check your ambassador skills.
Yeah, I'm going to say, we go from coast to coast to coast. So it depends what you're looking for. You're going to see, wonderful activities that are coastal and that will seem very familiar on the east coast of Canada. Toronto is a very popular destination. Ontario, there's a lot of routes and a lot of connections that are there. The prairies, we're talking about Ukraine. It's where a lot of Ukrainians, we have over 1 million Canadian Ukrainians actually, and a number of them out in our beautiful prairies. We've got the north, which we shouldn't forget about, and those Arctic connections. But, certainly I know that the west part of Canada has become increasingly popular for the Irish, and if you want to put on some skis and enjoy our beautiful mountains, that would certainly be high on the list. And Vancouver, has opened up a consulate recently, so the Irish are served out of Ottawa. There will be a Toronto office opening, but there's also an office opening in Vancouver because so many of the Irish have gone there to travel or to live and to work in companies there.
It's been a tough time in Canada, as it has for many countries. The pandemic's been very divisive, and I've seen a lot of people with certain views on the pandemic have seemed to also have certain views on what's happening in Ukraine as well. Are things beginning to calm down in Canada a little bit in that regard, or is there a lot of work to be done in terms of the division in society?
Yeah, I think I would say we've Canadians have been very united, in fact, in terms of the COVID and the response to the COVID. So we would be very much like Ireland if you were to look at our numbers in terms of take-up of vaccination rates, all the way through to the third booster. I think we all want to live in robust democracies, and we would want to see discussions around important issues, but certainly around issues that you've mentioned, such as COVID or responses to Ukraine. We've just had a all-party full parliamentary response to that, in addition to the leadership of the Prime Minister. So I think on some of those issues that some countries might have struggled with in terms of getting, more uptake. There's a high degree of confidence in the public health system, and so that response has been very positive.
Okay, one of the biggest connections finally. One of the biggest. Well, I suppose it's one of the biggest. Is Gallagher's bread.
Gallagher's bread.
And Canada.
Tell me about it.
We export out a lot of bread from here. Is that what you eat? Is that what you eat over there?
You'll have to now. There you've left me with a good research project.
Okay, right. Sorry.
I can't.
But it's just that it's the little connections.
It's those little connections.
Gallagher's bread. It's manufactured here in the heart of Donegal, and apparently an awful lot of it heads out.
That's fantastic.
Okay,
you know, there's going to be a lot of Irish. So we have something like 14% of Canadians who claim Irish heritage. I can't leave without saying that March 1st is the start of Heritage Month in Canada, first time ever. And so that's being launched and really celebrating the contributions the Irish have made to Canada. I heard you saying earlier that it's also Pancake Tuesday, so I brought something for you here.
Is that a pancake?
Which is, you can tell by the shape, it looks very pancake-like. He's teasing, but it's you know, this is some of the good stuff.
Syrup, is it?
That you can use not only on pancakes, but also certainly on salmon or vegetables, lots of different recipes that can be used.
And that's mine. Thank you. I appreciate it. Nancy, listen, I appreciate your time as well, because we're a big county and you've got lots of different places to be, and we really appreciate your time. We really appreciate your time this morning. It's been lovely having you in, and hopefully we'll see you again in the not too distant future.
Thank you. And next time when I come back, I'll talk to you about my Donegal-born grandmother.
Oh, do you have a minute, or do you have to go?
This is no. I think it's great because I've been asked a lot about this since I was here. So I will just say very quickly that I did have a chance over the course of the weekend to visit beautiful Ballintra, where my grandmother was born.
She's right next to where I actually. I'm from that area as well.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. Is that right? So we're piecing together the story, but she left at the age of 16. She was the first of her siblings.
So an emotional journey for you.
So Donegal has a very special place in my heart, and I think one of your speakers was talking just as I was coming in about family, and so those family ties are very personal for me as well. And for that reason, I'll definitely be back to Donegal many times.
Yeah, indeed. All right, listen, thank you very much indeed. That's the Canadian Ambassador to Ireland, Nancy Smith.
This is a notice for all tractor and agri-plant owners. Minimise your downtime when you need tyres and call Donegal Tyres Donegal Town. We can go to you and fit your tyres on site or repair your existing tyres if you have a puncture. Don't waste time and leave the hassle to us. So call Donegal Tyres now on 074 9721 482 to organise your call out.
As you start rediscovering Northern Ireland again, we want you to explore with confidence. That's why we've introduced the We're Good to Go industry standard for tourism and hospitality businesses. So you know they've agreed to follow COVID-19 safety guidelines, like social distancing, following the recommended cleaning processes, and undergoing spot checks. So you can enjoy your break to the full. Look out for the safety symbol for businesses that are good to go. Northern Ireland, we're good to go. Brought to you by Tourism Northern Ireland in partnership with UK national tourism bodies.
Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual office address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save your business hundreds, possibly thousands on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 7187 8077 for more details.
Hello, Grace. Where are you heading?
Down to Made to Measure Fireplaces in Creasla.
Made to Measure Fireplaces? Didn't you just buy a fireplace there?
Yeah, but I'm going now to pick my kitchen worktop.
Create the kitchen and living room of your dreams at Made to Measure Fireplaces and Granite Worktops. They've been in business for over 40 years. So for help choosing granite or quartz for your worktop, fireplace or stove, visit the Made to Measure showroom at Cashel Creasla or see mtmfireplaces.com or on Facebook.
Okay, you're welcome back. A caller says, Greg, I don't know if you heard the Two Johnnies podcast that caused all the controversy. I listened to a bit of it yesterday to see what all the fuss was about. What got them in bother was the stuff about the dodgy car stickers. They were really just reading out what was sent into them, and they were saying it was dodgy. I thought some of the stuff they were on about before that was worse, but no one picked up on that at all. It didn't bother me. I wasn't shocked, offended, stunned, outraged, or any other words that the internet loves to use on these occasions. All I was thinking to myself is this even funny? The conclusion I came to is maybe it is funny if you're somewhere in the mid-teens to mid-20s age group, which seems to be the 2FM demographic these days, in fact probably a bit younger. I think really it's probably more of a conversation of men's attitude towards women, particularly in the age groups that you talk of, that, you know, if you think it's funny to talk about women squealing like car tyres, Well, you might think it funny to say that to the face, or you might think it may be funny to grab their bum or shout out a window. I don't know. I presume that's where that conversation is going, I think. Hi, Greg. Would you know when the extra fuel allowance money is being paid out? We can try and find that out for you. Hi, Greg. I think it's a joke. My young daughter came home from school yesterday, freezing, windows all opened at the school, and myself and my wife were out at the weekend and every bar packed, only in Ireland, Greg. I don't know why the windows are open. They're not supposed to be, or they don't have to be, sorry. In terms of, they're not wearing masks. They don't have to wear masks. So why have they got the windows open as well? Because one sort of somewhat goes hand in hand with the other. I would phone the principal and say, could you explain to me what the situation is and when might that change? Right, Carol Doherty joins us on the programme now. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
I'm okay. You have family from Lithuania in Donegal, and in solidarity, is it Ukraine or Lithuania? Sorry, you have...
no, they're Lithuanian.
Okay.
They're Lithuanian, yes.
And in solidarity with the Ukrainian neighbours, there's a vigil taking place this week. Tell us about it.
Yes, it's going to be on Thursday night at the Market Square at 8 o'clock, Greg, in Buncrana. And we're getting together. We have the two leading churches are going to be represented, and our first citizen, Nicholas Crossan, will be there as well. And there'll be prayers and just a few reflections on peace. And the schools are getting involved. They're organising Ukrainian flags and things like that this week at schools. It should be lovely. And I'd love people to show up and just show, because this is the first of its kind, and certainly in Donegal. And it would be just nice, because the media will be there, and it would be lovely to show the people that we do care, that we are standing with them. And we're also going to have a book of support, and everybody will be asked to sign the book. And Nicholas Crossan is going to find a way to get it to the Ukrainian ambassador.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting in that obviously Putin, one of Putin's remarks about why he's doing what he's doing was to get rid of Nazism in Ukraine. Ironically, the president of Ukraine is Jewish. I'm not sure if his religion will be represented at your vigil, but it's also incredibly multi-denominational. There are people of all religious backgrounds in Ukraine. So you're encouraging people to come out on Thursday evening at 8 p.m. at the Market Square in Buncrana, and it's to show solidarity, to sign that book of solidarity, and you're hoping for a large turnout.
Yes, I am. People have got involved and have been more than generous with time and with an effort to try and make this, a success. So I just feel that people don't know what to do to express themselves, because everybody feels helpless, Greg, that they can't do anything, to stop this madness from happening. And, this is one way we can stand up and say we do not support this.
Yeah, and it's confusing too, because, there are wars raging in other parts of the world as well. There are awful occupation forces there are occupation forces in other countries in awful situations. There's shelling of other cities around the world. There is 12, 13-year-old girls being dragged through the streets and being beaten by soldiers. And a lot of people didn't take much notice of that, and then maybe feel a little bit guilty because they are so consumed by what's happening in Ukraine. Is it because it's more relatable, because it doesn't make it right or wrong, because it's hard to figure out, but is it because it is we're seeing European cities being shelled? Is that why it feels more closer to home, more relatable for people?
I feel that that's the case, because it's Europe we're talking about. And who's to say, not scaremongering, but who's to say that we're not next? You just don't know where this is going to end, what his plans are, or what he wants. So it's. I just feel that people should stand up and be counted, Greg.
Okay, Carol, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Take care. I'll remind people that vigil is on Thursday evening at 8 p.m. It's at the Market Square in Buncrana, I beg your pardon, and you're being invited to show solidarity to the Ukrainian people. 086 60 25,000, that is the text line, or the WhatsApp number.
Need a new part for your Ford car or van? Why not call to OMS Auto Parts in Buncrana? With a massive stock of Ford parts, you're sure to get the part you need. Free next day delivery on orders over €50. Call 074 936 1924 or shop online at omsautoparts.ie.
New this week in Home Store and More. All bath mats are half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price bath mats are gone, they're gone. Also, all our plant pots and garden planters and all our frying pans are still half price. But when all our half price plant pots and garden planters and all our half price frying pans are gone, they're definitely gone. Order online before 2 p.m. for next day delivery or drop by your local Home Store and More. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Pollution is threatening water quality in Donegal's rivers, caused mainly by agriculture, forestry, urban wastewater and septic tanks. Urgent action is needed. A public consultation meeting for Donegal will take place on the 28th of February and the 2nd of March. Register today for your local online meeting at lawaters.ie. That's lawaters.ie.
Mike Denver in concert with guests Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel Buncrana on Sunday, March 13th. Tickets at hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. That's Mike Denver with guests Brendan Shine and Ray Lynham at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel Buncrana, Sunday, March 13th.
Okay, the chairperson of the HSE West Regional Health Forum is Councillor Jerry McMonagle, and he joins us now. Good morning, Councillor. Thanks for taking the call.
Morning, Craig.
Right, now, I suppose it's worrying if positions aren't advertised or aren't funded. It's extra worrying maybe if they are and no one looks for the jobs. And that's exactly what's happened with well-rewarded consultant jobs. What's going on here? What have you been able to find out?
Well, I mean, it is a problem, and it has been a problem for quite a while in recruiting consultants, it seems, to the Northwest. And when we look at the various questions that we've been putting into the Regional Health Forum over this last number of years, the vacancies at both Letterkenny and Sligo university hospitals, there seems to be a problem. And we have asked the HSE and indeed CELTA, and I know Letterkenny University Hospital in recent years have went to extreme lengths to bring out brochures and portraying the area in a positive light and positivity of working at Letterkenny University Hospital. But to date, we're still having serious difficulties in recruiting the consultants that we need.
I wonder, we can send them all the documentation that they like, but if anyone was looking to go and live in an area or work in a particular facility, probably the first thing they would do is Google it. And I just wonder if they look at what's going on there, hear comments from, whether it be consultants that were already there or have since left or whatever it might be. They see the overcrowding and everything else that's going on. Are they saying to themselves, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't fancy that as my work.
Yeah, and we have to accept that. Letterkenny, as we know, has been in the headlines over the last number of years for the wrong reasons at times, especially with the overcrowding, the long waits at emergency department, the lack of beds.
Consultants unable to do their work because of other failings in the hospital. So consultants doing, and you remember the famous quote, sitting twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah, and the operating theatres not been there, but also the specialist services. And that also adds to the problem we would have here in the Northwest. We have no centres of excellence as such above the Galway-Dublin line. We've been hammering on about that there for a long number of years. I believe that if we did have those areas of excellence situated in the Northwest, whether it be Sligo or Letterkenny, that would help appeal and bring consultants up there. Because let's face it, when people are training in any job, they like to go where there's specialist services and somewhere where they can progress.
Would it be worth actually, engaging an agency? I know it would cost to actually ask people why they wouldn't come here. I don't know if you know what you're saying is a factor, if you're supposing, and I would suggest you're right. But do we need to sort of, try and ask some friendly consultants, why would you not consider, so that we can really have a targeted response to addressing what concerns they might have?
Yeah, well, we can employ consultants probably to tell us what we already know, Greg. But the thing about having consultants is that it's recognised and the report is recognised. But we do know what the problems are. And the problem we have is that the progression for their careers, they don't see it to be in the Northwest.
Right, okay.
The underinvestment in our hospitals over years has seen to that. And then we have the training schools for doctors and consultants are based mainly in the Dublin area. And you know yourself, if you're training in a particular area, then you have multiple hospitals with high specialist medicines being practiced, all within walking distance.
Yeah.
And what we have here, and well, it's just fledgling now, but I think what would help it is the McGee school in Derry, that would maybe, if it gets supported and gets off the ground and gets the investment it needs, that we could be training doctors and specialist nurses, consultants in the Northwest, which then would probably lead to them staying in the Northwest, and they could service the health needs in not only Albigalvin, Letterkenny, but also Letterkenny, Sligo, and indeed Erin and Enniskillen.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is, I'll say just the only thing I'll say just before the news is going to be a minute late. Private hospitals don't seem to have any problems attracting consultants, even regardless of where there are. You know, they'll say in adverts, we've got hundreds of consultants ready to go to deal with your problems immediately. You know, it doesn't seem to be the lack of some of the stuff you're referencing there isn't a problem for private practices, seemingly.
No, it isn't, because, I mean, the quality of life and the pay obviously is a lot better. And plus the doctors and consultants have access to specialist equipment and specialist medicines. And that's not the same within the public sector. And as I say, we in the Northwest are suffering doubly due to the fact that there is no specialist services here in the Northwest. And secondly, because most of the training schools for doctors and consultants is centred in the Dublin area, whereas if we had the likes of McGee and we did develop that properly, I would think we would have better access and more regular access to the consultants and specialist doctors that we need.
Councillor Jerry McMonigal, I really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much indeed. He is, of course, chairperson of the HSE Western Regional Health Forum. We're heading to news now. Apologies, it's a minute late. We'll be back after the news and obituary notes. The community got information slot coming up for you.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. There's a growing sense of unease in the Ukrainian capital after new satellite pictures have revealed the scale of Russian military forces heading for Kyiv. A convoy of trucks, tanks and other vehicles is 40 miles long. British intelligence suggests the Russian advance on Kyiv has made little progress in the last 24 hours despite increasing artillery strikes. However, Kim Sen-Gupta from the London Independent, who is in Kyiv, says initial optimism that Ukrainian forces were holding the capital city is now fading.
The mood again is one of deep apprehension. I mean, there was a certain amount of optimism that after 6 days of attacks, Kyiv is still standing. But of course, this is just the very first phase of the war. The second phase, a far deadlier one, is about to begin.
The Donegal Intercultural Platform, meanwhile, is coordinating a number of events to support Ukraine and is also gathering first aid and other essential materials to be shipped over there by a Dublin-based company. On today's 9 till noon show, Paul Kernan of the Intercultural Platform urged any Ukrainian people in Donegal to make contact with them. He said the materials being sought show the seriousness of the situation across Ukraine.
There's a Ukraine-Ireland export business based in Dublin, and they're organising a truck of mainly medical and sleeping bags and similar goods today. And we are liaising with that group because we suspect that there will be a greater need for sleeping bags and medical equipment. I mean, it's sort of tragic to see. We asked them what do they need, and they said first aid kits, sleeping bags and tourniquets. So it sort of tells you the awfulness of the humanitarian crisis.
Well, a number of events are being held across Donegal this week in solidarity with the people of Ukraine. Vigils will be held in Letterkenny over the coming days, while a Ukraine Solidarity mural is set to be unveiled tomorrow evening on the Port Road in Letterkenny. The Canadian ambassador to Ireland is in Donegal. Nancy Smith has met with the Cathaoirleach of Donegal County Council, Councillor Jack Murray, and representatives of Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce and Letterkenny Institute of Technology during her visit. She's praised Ireland for its efforts in terms of tourism. Speaking on the 9 till noon show a short time ago, Ms Smith says she hopes to increase the existing links between Canada and Donegal.
What we're really looking forward to is getting some of those direct flights with air carriers such as Air Canada and WestJet, but of course also Aer Lingus starting to get some of those direct flights coming. One of the things that I was really interested to hear about in my discussions is something called the Donegal Diaspora. So, I mean, there is, of course, a particularly close relationship between this part of Ireland and Canada, where a number of Irish went to Canada.
Irish Water is under pressure to fast-track upgrade plans for Inch in South Inishowen. Since the weekend, there have been 2 more outages in the area, leaving hundreds of homes without water for a time. Irish Water gave a previous commitment that it would carry out the necessary works in the first quarter of this year. Donegal County Council Cathaoirleach Jack Murray says Irish Water must make good on that promise.
Well, it can be described as an inconvenience at times. It can be much, much worse for people with children, elderly people, people who are sick. You know, you just can't go without water. It's an essential service. So I would call on Irish Water again, while the funding is secured, to please carry out these works ASAP and please prioritise it above anywhere else, because I don't know of anywhere else in County Donegal that goes so frequently without water.
Members of Derry City and Strabane District Council have posthumously granted the freedom of the city and district to NHS nurse and Strabane man Pat McManus, who died of COVID-19 in 2020. The proposal to confer the freedom of the Derry City and Strabane District was prompted by a notice of motion brought before the Council in June 2020, with plans being delayed due to COVID restrictions. Catherine Gaffney has more.
The honour was granted following 2 special hybrid meetings held yesterday to admit Mr McManus as a free man of the city and district. Mayor of Derry City and Strabane, Alderman Graham Wark, paid tribute to Pat McManus's selfless dedication to the well-being of others and said he hoped the freedom of the city and district honour would give some comfort to his family and friends. There was widespread sadness across the area when news of Mr McManus's death broke in his hometown of Strabane in 2020. The 60-year-old had continued in his role as a frontline care worker in England despite suffering from multiple sclerosis, making him vulnerable to the virus. Although he had been offered a managerial role to limit his contact with patients, he opted to continue in the caring role, which had been his lifelong vocation. Representatives from Pat McManus's family were also in attendance.
Weather now cold and frosty this morning, but any frost and ice will clear to leave a dry and bright day with long spells of sunshine, highest temperatures of 8 or 9 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
The Obituary notices for this Tuesday morning, the 1st of March. The death has taken place of Philip Hurrell, St Boden's, Cooldaff. His remains are reposing at Collins Funeral Premises, Cooldaff, with viewing today from 5 to 9 p.m. Funeral from there tomorrow at 11:30 for 12 noon Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Buchan, Cooldaff, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Philip's funeral mass can be viewed live at cooldaffparish.com. The death has taken place of David Mullins, Lighthouse Road, Arranmore Island. House strictly private to family and close family friends, please. Funeral Mass on Thursday in St Crona's Church, Arranmore Island at 12 noon, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The sudden death has taken place of Kevin Harper, 1 Columkill Close, Kerry-Keel, formerly of St Mary's Terrace, Rimelton. His remains will repose at his home in Kerry-Keel from 12 noon today. Funeral Mass on Thursday at 12 noon in St Columbus Church, Massmount, with burial afterwards in St Mary's Cemetery, Rimelton. House private, please, on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Mary McGee, Mary Bella, Maharat Cloher, Guidor. Her remains are reposing at her residence with rosary at 8 p.m. Funeral Mass in St Mary's Church, Derrybeg, tomorrow afternoon at 1, followed by burial in Maharagalan Cemetery. Wake private to family, close friends and neighbours, please, and strictly private from after the Rosary tonight. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on the Gillespie Funeral Director's Facebook page and the Chuck Pubblewidow webcam. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Oris Cuidor. The death has taken place of Molly McElhenney, née Doherty, 334 Connyborough Road, Lifford, formerly of Glen McQuinn, Letterkenny. Her remains will repose at her home from 12 noon to 10 p.m. today. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11:20 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlock, Lifford at 12 noon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The house is private, please, to family and close friends. Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Donal Gallagher, Middletown, Derrybeg. His remains will repose at Rorty's Funeral Home, Derrybeg, from 4 to 6:30 p.m. today. Removal to St Mary's Chapel, Derrybeg, for 7 o'clock this evening, reposing overnight. Funeral Mass in St Mary's Chapel, Derrybeg, tomorrow morning at 11, with burial afterwards in Maharagalan Cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty Funeral Director's Facebook page and on the Chuck Pubblewidow webcam. The death has taken place of William J. McLaughlin, Cashel, Glentoher, Carndonagh. His remains are reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 to the Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonagh, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The death has occurred of Margaret Harkin, née Cameron, Gort McCall, Milford. Removal from her home this morning at 10:30 to St Peter's Church for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, with interment afterwards in Milford Cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed at churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Billy Brown, Coolity, Lifford, and formerly of Carrickmore, St Johnson. Funeral leaving his home this morning at 11:25 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlock, at 12 noon. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to the Oncology Department, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. And the death has taken place of Bernice McCallion, née Doherty, Ocht, Cure, Muff. Removal from her home this morning at 10:15 to St Patrick's Church, Ishkaheen, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed on MCN Media. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
It's not just a sewing machine. For Maya, it's a chance to give her family a better life. It's not just a way to make a living. It's a chance to give her daughter an education. Like thousands of mothers, Maya lives in fear of what the future holds for her little girl. And it's not just. This Lent, your love can make all the difference. Visit trocra.org or call 1800 408 408. Trocra, until love conquers fear.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And you're very welcome back to the programme. I do hope you're well. And we're into the second hour. Very shortly, we are going to be having our community Garda information slot, so stay tuned for that. My husband and I did a 3-week trip through the Canadian Rockies 6 years ago this summer. It really is beautiful. I'd describe it like here in Donegal, only on a much, much larger scale. Truly beautiful, they say. Hi, Greg. Given the death and destruction happening in Ukraine, it's awful. How come the same criticism and sanctions of Russia were not applied to the US and the UK for their commission of war crimes and crimes against humanity in Libya and Iraq, where hundreds of thousands of people were massacred? What's sauce for the goose should be sauce for the gander. Our hypocrisy never ceases to amaze. I understand exactly where you're coming from. I kind of did reference that as well, of course. I just want to let you know, by the way, that there is a coffee morning in aid of Ukraine. It's on in the Milford District Resource Centre on Monday next from 10 p.m. to 1 p.m. All proceeds in aid of the Red Cross in Ukraine. Hi, Greg. I think it's terrible what's happening in Kiev, but at the same time, it's very telling about us as a society that we get so whipped up, mainly by the media, and at the same time, the poor people in Palestine are being abused and murdered for generations, and it's greeted with silence. We really are sheep that are easily manipulated, and so it goes on. Well, firstly, there's a couple of things going on here, because there is an interesting conversation to be had. 99% of the information I'm receiving is from various sources on Telegram channels, people on the ground, people posting videos, and on Twitter. I've consumed very little of the rolling news channels. That's just the way it is. So I'm not sure mainstream media has the influence that people believe it once has. Now, I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here too, though. That's for me. That being said, viewership for the likes of Sky News, BBC News, they're very low. The rolling news channels, the viewership is generally very low. That's the facts. But it's 4 to 5 times greater at the moment now in this crisis. So in other words, people want to know what's going on, and they choose, for right or wrong, people out there will agree or disagree, they choose to go to BBC News or to Sky News. And I'm sure in terms of scheduled news here that RTE's 6 and 9 o'clock newses are enjoying greater viewership because people want to tune in and they trust that. Now, you might not agree with them trusting that, but that's what they do. Personally speaking myself, I would gather my news more so from, as I say, some Telegram channels and Twitter, where, you know, it's not verified, what can be, but you gather in as much as you can and then make up your own mind. All I know is what's happening over there is absolutely brutal. A petrol station put up their prices yesterday inside a few hours. What justifies that? Is there a shortage of petrol in Ireland? There's no shortage, but listen, you're going to be paying over 2 litre. You're going to be paying over 2 litre for petrol very soon. That's just the reality. It's partly because what's happening in Eastern Europe. Obviously, most of it goes to the government in tax, and of course, the price of the reserve that's there, the petrol that's there, increases because down the line there could be shortages. Okay, so that's why you'd have a more immediate effect on petrol, presumably. And also, we have to remember that the petrol companies, they don't lose any money. They maintain their profits, of course, and just pass it all on to us. Do you know if you still have to complete a passenger locator form on arrival to Dublin Airport, as I cannot see it mentioned anywhere in the new rules? It's not in the new rules because it's an old rule that still applies. So according to the official Department of Transport website, you do still have to fill out a passenger location form on arrival into Ireland. Okay, it is the 9 till noon show. We will be joined in studio by... we'll be kicking off our Community Guard information slot with guests in studio after this break.
If you've got magic moments or great memories captured on your smartphone, now is a great time to have them printed at mcgees.ie. Simply upload your favourite photos, choose your size and finish, and McGee's will take care of the rest, with the results delivered to your door. Prices are from just 12 cents, and there's also creative options available. Preserve your memories today at mcgees.ie.
CarsIreland.ie presents When Car Buying Becomes Catfishing.
Oh, what's that smell?
I raise pigeons. I bring them in the back the odd time. They have a very particular scent.
It's horrible.
You'll get used to it.
Cars Ireland isn't just fast and easy. We only work with trusted dealerships, so you can find the right car without the unwanted surprises. CarsIreland.ie. Click, click, vroom, vroom.
Around the Northwest with John Breslin will launch Read DL 2022 with an outside broadcast at LYIT on World Book Day, which is this Thursday, March the 3rd. Read DL is an annual one book, one community programme. So to hear all about this year's chosen book and to find out how you can get involved, tune in to John Breslin on Around the Northwest this Thursday from noon, live from LYIT for the launch of Read DL 2022.
Mike Denver in concert with guests Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel Buncrana on Sunday, March 13th. Tickets at hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. That's Mike Denver with guests Brendan Shine and Ray Lynham at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel Buncrana, Sunday, March 13th.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 1st of March. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S2. It's game number 9. The numbers are 74, 64, 11, 80, 48, 41, 49, 38, 83, and finally 88. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The Community Garda information is brought to you in association with Northwest Alarm Systems, incorporating Third Eye Fire and Safety. Is now your one-stop shop for security, fire alarm systems and fire training. Visit our website for more or call 074 97 21687.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show, and we welcome into studio Garda Niall Maguire with the Falcarra Garda station. Good morning, Niall. Thanks very much for joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
Good to have you with us, and we'll also be speaking shortly to Matthias Ferenz. A very good morning to you, Matthias. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Greg. Nice
You're
to be here.
a relatively new member of An Garda Síochána.
I am indeed, yes.
How long is it since you graduated? Is that the right phrase? It is? Yeah.
Yes, I got attested on the 14th of January and I started work on the 25th.
And how's it going so far?
Oh, loving it.
Excellent. Okay, well, we'll be speaking to you, as I say, much more anon. But first to Garda Niall Maguire, and we'll start with a series of burglaries. I'm not surprised to see the focus in this area at Niall. Tell us what's been happening and how people can protect themselves and help, I suppose.
Yeah, quite worryingly, Greg, we've had a lot of burglaries this last couple of weeks. So I just want to make a few appeals here and raise awareness as well for maybe the general population in Donegal in relation to what's going on. So the first one I have is a burglary that occurred in Lifford on the Cunningham Road on Friday the 25th of February between 4:40pm and 7:30pm. The back door to the property was forced open and the house was ransacked. It features quite a lot in these burglaries, Greg, in that a lot of the doors and windows have been forced, as opposed to maybe chance burglaries where a door's been unlocked or keys have been left out or something like that. So people may ask what we can do about this, but I have a few pointers afterwards. So in relation to this one in Cunningham Road, a sum of cash was stolen during the course of the burglary, and also a number of items of jewellery. Namely a gold locket containing a photo, a gold signet ring with a stone, a pearl ring, a gold bracelet with an engraving of Peter, a wedding ring, an eternity ring, and 2 gold charm bracelets, one of which had 2 charms attached, a red vase charm and a horseshoe charm. So anybody that may have seen anything suspicious on the Cunningham Road on the Friday the 25th of February between 4:40pm and 7:30pm, please contact the guards in Letterkenny 074 91 67100, or indeed the Garda confidential line 1800 666 111. Any dash cam in the Lifford area, please, on the Friday evening, the 25th, in the Lifford area, please maybe make it available to your local Gardaí in Lifford or Letterkenny. Or if you come across any jewellery for sale in suspicious circumstances, again, would like to hear from you.
It sounds like those homeowners had a list of what they possessed.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
That's a very detailed description they're able to give you guys.
Yeah, and I spoke to Grania this morning. She's endeavouring to get the photographs from the investigating Garda to put on the Garda Facebook page, because there's quite a distinctive couple of bits of jewellery there, Greg, and you know it's an easy target, I suppose, because some ladies, I suppose, keep all their jewellery in the one spot, and if that spot's discovered, it's all gone, you know.
All right, so obviously anyone who witnessed this crime or the events leading up to it or after it, but of course, you know, they'll want to get rid of this stuff quickly. Listen, maybe there's places they can just palm it off and it's melted down, and it can be hard to track, but maybe not. So keep your eyes and your ears open. Right, now, Drummonor in Buncrana, is that where we're going next?
Yeah. Most of the burglars, if not all of them, I think, are quite close to the border, Greg, so I don't know if there's a tale to be told there. But the guards in Buncrana, where Tess is based, are investigating a burglary again on Friday evening between 5 p.m. and 6 a.m. Sorry, between 5 p.m. on Friday, and it was discovered then on the Monday, so over the weekend. It's believed that entry was gained via a rear door. A number of tools were stolen, an angle grinder, 2 boring steel rods, which are a very expensive piece of equipment apparently, a Milwaukee battery and a Milwaukee radio. So this only happened Friday past the 25th, and it was discovered yesterday morning at 6 a.m. when the business is a business premises. When they came back in, they discovered they were broken into. So if anybody has observed anything suspicious in the Drummonor Buncrana area over the weekend, please contact the guards in Buncrana on 074 93 20540.
All right, Bert next.
Bert, Mones Cottages, have I got that right, on Saturday the 26th of February between 5:45 p.m. and 6:40 p.m, so that 1 hour window. The resident of the residential property returned home from Mass to discover that the front door of the house had been forced open again. A search of the property had obviously taken place, but nothing was stolen, thank goodness. So again, this happened at Mones Cottages. Bert, anybody please that noticed anything, contact the guards in Buncrana again, 074 93 20540, and in particular motorists who may have travelled through Burt Village on the main N13 road between those times, we had a dash cam to make the footage available to the guards in Buncrana.
Yeah, and before we go on to the next one, I suppose, I mean, if we're not doing already, it is the time now to make sure that we're keeping our eyes peeled for anything suspicious, that we have to try and assist the Gardaí and be proactive. You know, if something doesn't seem right, call the Gardaí.
Exactly, yeah. And the very fact that this is cross-border, I'm aware of a number of burglaries in Derry City and Strabane as well. I'm not going to make appeals in relation to them. I don't have the details, but I'm aware that there has been quite a substantial number of burglaries over the border as well. So there is obviously
a lot of activity.
There is a lot of activity,
right.
Yeah.
Enoch Begg next.
Enoch Begg burned foot on Saturday the 26th of February between the times of 6:50 p.m. and 7:10 p.m. So again, you know, anybody that's listening to me is paying attention can see that you know, this is the hot spot, is this kind of evening time after 5 p.m. then in between 8 p.m. The rear window of a house was forced open and entry was gained. A pair of Gucci sunglasses were stolen from the property. That was the only thing taken, thank goodness. Again, the guards in Buncrana, this happened at Enoch Begg burned foot on Saturday the 26th between 6:50 p.m. and 7:10 p.m. Please contact the guards in Buncrana, or again the confidential line.
And Newtown Cunningham next.
Main Street, Newton Cunningham, between Saturday the 26th of February at 6 a.m. this time and Sunday the 27th of February at 4:20 p.m. when it was discovered a window at the side of the house was forced open and entry gained. Damage was caused to some of the interior doors in the property during the course of the burglary, and a small amount of cash was stolen. So our appeal is to anybody who may have observed any sort of suspicious activity in the Carronamati Burt area during the time period mentioned. Again, the guards in Buncrana are investigating.
Right. So in terms of security advice here, I mean, it seems these people aren't rattling door handles and stuff. They want in and out, so they're going, you know, straight for, you know, forced entry gets them in immediately and get their stuff and get away. What's your advice to the public?
Well, my own experience, Greg, when we solve a lot of these as a result of neighbours calling us in relation to suspicious vehicles or persons, you know, they're the eyes and ears that usually solve these things for the guards. You know, okay, we have other instances then where we have maybe people caught on the road network with via traffic or whatever, and they have stolen property in the car, or maybe we have intelligence in relation to these people. But you know, a lot of the times it's vigilance by the neighbours that solve these crimes, or indeed detects them when they're happening. So a little bit of advice that Grania has printed out here. So whether you're at home or going out, remember, listen, it's the old ones, turn on some lights inside and out, and ensure that the exterior of your property is well lit to the front and rear. And that's to give you also people that are passing by and your neighbours a chance. Maybe they mightn't even know they're doing it, but they're glancing, and if they see somebody suspicious, they'll maybe ring us, or even maybe make a note of the car that's close by or something like that. Use timer switches on your lights. Lock all doors and windows. Use an alarm if possible. Store keys away from windows. And another one that unfortunately we come across quite often is don't keep large amounts of cash in the house, and if you have valuable jewellery, make sure that it's photographed so that if it does go missing, we have some way of maybe getting it back to you if it is found. And somewhere safe and secure, hidden. Just
even a safe. They're really quite affordable.
They are. Yeah.
You screw them into anything that discourages them, slows them down.
Yeah,
it's going to work in your favour.
Yeah, hidden in a drawer isn't hidden, because
they know exactly where to look.
When a house is burgled, it's generally there's like 4 or 5 places that the first places they go to, and they're usually successful in finding what has been attempted to be hidden. So it's very important to always report any suspicious activity to your in your area to the Gardaí immediately, or just make notes yourself if you do see a car or a person, just to refresh your memory. Again, you've got so many private companies now that are selling like these Ring doorbells and stuff like that. They're very good, and people have easy access to them on their phone, and it's always useful to us if we're investigating another crime.
And they motion capture, which maybe a lot of people don't realise. So, say for instance, you have in your kitchen, you might have I think it's called a Google Home Max. You can set that up that it will capture an image or trigger any movement in your kitchen. They're not incredibly expensive, but they're not, it depends. I mean, it's going to cost an awful lot of money to replace a lot of this stuff. As you mentioned, those doorbells, they will capture images, and which would help in your situation. I'm a big fan of this smart stuff too, because if you do buy the smart bulbs, rather than having timer switches, you can set routines on them so the lights will come off and on and whatever it takes. And alarms as well, and make sure if you have one to have it switched on, Niall, I'm sure, because that's going to alert the neighbours, isn't it?
Big time, Greg. Yeah. And in relation to the cameras, unfortunately, a lot of these companies like Google and Ring and stuff, they operate on a subscription service. So again, it's another monthly cost. But you can buy, from
Google doesn't, but it has it. But you can. It'll still monitor. But anyway, listen.
Yeah. So, but if you want to recollect the data on your phone or whatever, they may have a charge there. But the local security companies and even Letterkenny here, they can install a hard drive in your own home that with cameras that'll record, and there's no subscription fee, and they're quite inexpensive to initially set up, Greg. When I say inexpensive, it could be 400 or 500.
But we find the money after we've been robbed.
Exactly. Yeah. There's
as
how many times have we been
are,
to a house and then they put the camera in after they've been burgled? Unfortunately, Greg. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Anything else that we need to be? I just really think community vigilance is going to be a big factor in this as well.
Well, that's the one that usually solves it, Greg. Yeah.
Okay. Because obviously the loss of property is a pain. The violation of your property too takes a bit of time to get over.
Yeah, I know. I've mentioned there that there was 1 or 2 houses that nothing was taken, and another house only maybe a pair of sunglasses were taken, albeit an expensive pair of sunglasses. But it's, as you say quite rightly, it's the violation of your home is usually worse than the actual value of the property that was taken.
Okay, and do we know? Are they making sure people aren't in their homes? I know you've been sent in the information from different areas.
Yeah, generally people aren't at home.
Right. So if you give the impression, this is to reinforce that point, if you give the impression there's people in the house, as with the advice that you've given as it relates to lights and stuff, you are less likely to be targeted then.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, but as I say, I'm not sure if this is one group of people or many groups of people, but as I say, everyone's going to have to come together on this one and keep their ears and eyes peeled. And as you've said yourself, and you're the man that does the investigation, that's the way we can crack this. Right, okay. Should we talk about the recruitment campaign first, then we'll go back to the other stuff? Because I want to bring into the conversation Mateus Ferenz, a new Garda. Why did you decide to join the Garda, Mateus?
The Guards was something that I always wanted to do. Deep down when I was young, I always knew helping people and bad people were something that I wanted to catch, and it was always appealing to me, And when I got the opportunity, I grasped it.
And you have a Polish background, is that correct?
I do, yeah. I was born in Poland. Grew up in Poland, moved here when I was around 7 years of age.
And was that in any way a barrier to you at any point, I wonder? Because I know part of this this recruitment drive is to sort of, have a more diverse force, and a great emphasis is being put in relation to that, because we're a more diverse country, and it's better to have as many people represented in your security, in your Garda force as possible. But did you sort of at any point go, well, I was born in Poland, is this for me? Was that a problem for you at all?
No, not at all. In a sense, I think it was sort of a benefit for me, because I had something that, many other people don't have, another language. I'm an asset in the point that I can, help the Polish community if they're not fluent English speakers. They can come and speak to me without having a third party translator.
And I have to imagine that the Polish community might feel more inclined to, not just the any community, to engage with the Gardaí if they believe they're represented within it, that there's someone in it that truly understands, their language, yes, as I say, and their background.
Of course, yes, yeah. And, that's what I hope is going to happen. It'll encourage people who are, victims to, let's say, domestic abuse, if come forward and speak to somebody in their own language that they might feel comfortable, more comfortable. In my intake when I was down in the college, there was many different nationalities. There was a guy in my class was French. There was myself and another Polish fella down there. I think there was like 13 different nationalities. So it's great to see. It's great to see the guards.
And with this extra emphasis in this recruitment drive as well, you would hope it would become even more diverse. You're currently based in Buncrana. Is that going to be your permanent base? Do you know yet? Or
yeah, no, that's my permanent base now. Yeah. When I was out for training, I was stationed in Balbafay, and now I'm in Buncrana full time.
Okay, so not a huge difference.
No, not at all.
Okay.
And, I'm grateful for that.
Yes, indeed. I mean, from your perspective, Niall, you're well used to seeing new people coming through. What do you think of this renewed emphasis on sort of having a more diverse force?
Absolutely, Greg. This is the first time I met Matthias this morning. I had a quick conversation before we came on air, and he pointed out that his auntie, obviously Polish lady as well, is a detective in Dublin, and when we were talking, I just discovered that I'd actually worked with her maybe over 12 years ago in relation to a murder.
It's a worrying small world, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
So tiny.
We had a murder investigation here in Letterkenny, and she was actually liaising as a guard and a translator for us, because the best we had at the time was using Google Translate, and it just wasn't working, but Matthias's aunt was there, and it was amazing to have.
And a huge asset for other Gardaí in the county as well, to have the likes of Matthias to call on if need be.
Yeah, you'd hardly know from speaking to Matthias that he had the Polish background, but I suppose he's been here since he's a kid, and definitely an asset, because we have such a Polish population now in the area. And they're going to be victims of crime, victims of domestic abuse as well, the same as the rest of us.
And Matthias, do you think the changes as it relates to maybe not having to have Irish or what have you, is that going to help encourage more people from different backgrounds to join the force, I wonder?
Well, the Irish isn't the problem. For myself, I done Irish in school, so
you've got English, Polish, and Irish.
Yes. And
sickening young people.
bits of other languages here and there too, Yeah. But like I said, there was a guy in my class who was French. He was 38 years of age. His broken English, but fluent. He didn't have Irish, but he had to do Irish, and it's just a matter he learned it off and got through it, and anyone can do it, And I heard rumours of it being taken away from the curriculum down there. Yes.
And do you hope that you might encourage others? Because obviously it was something that you didn't have to put a great deal of thought of. Obviously, it's something that you wanted to do. You didn't see any barriers to it, but clearly there are others that do. So do you hope, like you sharing your story, and I'm not as much on this program, but out and about and talking to people in the community, that you might encourage others to sign up?
Oh no, of course. I would encourage everyone to give it a try, stick in an application. If they have any sort of interest, and who knows, That's a huge asset nowadays, you know, to have another language, you know, because the community is becoming more and more diverse.
Yeah.
So it's just great to see, you know, all these foreign guards coming through, you know.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. National Slowdown Day is ongoing. I saw the first issue. I saw the first issuing of detections. Donegal didn't feature in those. It doesn't mean it's not happening here, of course. It's a big drive between 7 and 7. Of course, Gardai are out there detecting in the speed vans all the time. But it's just a reminder. We know how big a contributory factor speed is in many of our road traffic collisions now.
Yeah, so today is National Slowdown Day, March the 1st, as always. High visibility speed checkpoints will take place across the country during this period. And our aims are basically not to detect and persecute people, but it's aimed to increase awareness in relation to the dangers of excessive and inappropriate speed. And I heard from your piece earlier on, the Road Safety Authority announced that through their own stats that, you know, excessive speed is a contributing factor in a third of all fatal accidents in Ireland, which is unfortunately a huge amount. You know, any fatal accidents in Donegal, you know, speed can be a factor and has been a factor. Drink and drug driving and the non-wearing of seatbelts is the big three. Yeah. National Slowdown Day is not just about speed detection, it's about saving lives. So all drivers, check your speed regularly and slow down every day, not just on National Slowdown Day. It's not about these crazy speeds that you may see on media in relation to maybe 140, 150 kilometres per hour. It's about speeding in built up areas outside schools. You know, if it's a 50 kilometre limit and you're doing 60 kilometre, that's just as bad as doing 140 kilometres.
And if you pick a few people up from the airport and you're not used to that weight in the back of your car, I know that sounds like a very specific example.
Yeah.
That corner that you used to going around at 60, even though you shouldn't be at, your car handles very, very differently, and it's that type of awareness too, isn't it?
Absolutely, Greg. Yeah, absolutely. It's a good point, actually. Not just in relation to excessive weight in the passengers, but you know, you've all different variables in relation to driving Donegal, the weather being a big one as well. You know, accidents do pick up when the roads are wet and slippy, which unfortunately is a lot of the time.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so that runs until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, but obviously the message is, you know, it's about stopping people dying. It's quite simple.
Yeah, sorry, before you skip on, Greg,
yeah,
just in relation to the Garda recruitment campaign, you know, prospective candidates may apply via publicjobs.ie, and there's I think is that they're looking for there'll be 800 new Garda recruits in 2022. So you know, I'm aware that, you know, there will be a large number of people applying, as there has been, you know, consistently throughout the years. But it's definitely worth putting in an application. And indeed, if you've applied before and you haven't been successful, you're not disbarred from applying again, you know.
Okay, go back at it. Right, and finally, we are going to talk about the launch of the Donegal Gardai Youth Awards for 2022.
Yeah, so the nomination process is now open, and the Garda Síochána in Donegal are now inviting the public to nominate a young person they may know who has committed to making a difference in their community during 2021. All nominees will receive recognition of their nomination following the closing date for receipt. The Gardaí will be distributing nomination forms to schools, youth groups, voluntary organisations right across County Donegal from today. The nomination forms are also available on the Garda website, garda.ie. The link to the downloaded forms will be available on the Garda Donegal Facebook page from today. An awards event will take place in April of May of 2022. Winners and nominees will be notified of these details by the organising committee following the adjudication process. And the Garda Youth Awards has featured quite heavily in Donegal, and last year the 3 of last year's national winners came from Donegal.
Yeah.
There are 4 separate categories. An individual award, which is a person making a positive contribution to their community, making a better place to live. The second one is a group award, which is 2 or more young people making a positive contribution to their community, making it a better place to live. The third award is a special achievement award, which is for someone overcoming difficult circumstances who has defied all the odds and whose commitment deserves recognition. And the fourth is a Community Safety Award through a crime prevention or security initiative, which have made their community a safer place to live. Grania is one of the lead guards looking after us, so you can actually contact her in Letterkenny as well.
Brilliant. And everyone who's nominated, that nomination is recognised, which I think would be a lovely thing. If someone close to you has done something that you believe is recognised, that everything will be recognised. Okay. Your ambition, I would say, is through the roof. Mateus, in terms of probably want to emulate your detective relation, or are you just focusing on the duties you have at the moment?
He needs to get a few of these burglaries solved, Greg, first.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get on that.
We'll get there, and that'll be on my portfolio to become a detective. At the minute, I'm taking it step by step. Take it as it is, and eventually we'll see how it goes.
I think you're going to do it. We wish you every success with your
Thank you very
career
much.
and the best of luck with everything. And Niall, you're in the middle of your career.
Yeah, you've been generous, Greg.
I wanted to finish on a positive. Okay, listen, thank you as well, as always. Garda Noel Maguire, Falcar Garda Station, and also Garda Mateus Ferenz, based out of Buncrana. Both of you, thank you very much indeed. We'll be back with the Community Garda slot on the programme next Tuesday after the 10 o'clock news. We'll be back on this show today after the break.
The Community Garda information is brought to you in association with Northwest Alarm Systems, protecting homes and businesses across the Northwest for 40 years, now servicing fire alarm systems. Visit our website, or for more call 074 97 216 87.
Nutrius Milk Replacer range, which includes NutriStart and NutriStart Plus, offers the best start to your calves this spring season. With 23% and 25% crude proteins, ideal for calf to beef and heifer rearing systems. Give your calves the best possible start. Available at your local Homeland store. Visit nutrius.ie for full nutritional information.
The good times are back. The highly acclaimed Joe Dolan Show Remembering Joe is back in Letterkenny for one night only. And what a party it will be. St. Patrick's Night, Thursday, March 17th, eve of the bank holiday at the Clanry Hotel. The spectacular show starring brother Ben Dolan, nephews Adrian and Ray, niece Sandra, Karen Carroll, plus the original Joe Dolan Band will have you rocking and rolling in the aisles at the Clanry. Celebrate our national holiday in style. Tickets now available at the Clanry Hotel, 07491243369. Remember, there's no show like a Joe show. Always a sellout. Book now.
Local Enterprise Week is back to help your business get the wind in its sails. Running from Saturday the 5th to Friday the 11th of March, Local Enterprise Week is organised by Local Enterprise Office Donegal. Chart a clear path for your business by getting advice on marketing, leadership and recruitment. Also on networking, exporting, finance and much more. Booking is essential. To see the lineup of events and speakers and to book, visit localenterprise.ie/Donegal or call 9160735. Supported by Enterprise Ireland, Donegal County Council and the Government of Ireland.
With passengers boarding for the holiday of a lifetime, please go woo!
Highland Radio wants to send you on the holiday of a lifetime.
Worth €10,000.
Plus $5,000 spending money.
Get your ticket now at highlandradio.com. Answer the question and start packing. Start packing.
Draw takes place April 14th on the 9 till noon show.
Get your ticket early and enter a bonus draw for an extra week's holiday in Turkey.
Two for the price of one.
Start planning your ultimate getaway. Only on Highland Radio.
Dear Daniel, ever since you burst out of Donegal and onto the music scene, I've been your biggest fan. And when you came to visit, I could have died. And when you offered to fix my boiler, I could have died, Daniel, because you're not a registered gas installer. I'm returning all your albums and my rhinestone-studded I Love Daniel jacket. Goodbye forever, from Mary. P.S. Daniel, you can find your local registered gas installer at rgii.ie.
Save up to 25% on your shopping at Kelly Centra in Letterkenny. In store, you'll find a huge range of great tasting, own brand products, fresh produce, including fresh meat and frozen foods, along with all your day-to-day needs. Say yes to savings every day at Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. If you want to see how to make the perfect pancake, get onto our website now, highlandradio.com. You'll see a link for Watch the 9 till noon show live, and you will be able to watch it being done, because my guest right now is the author of a wonderful new book, and it's Ciara McLaughlin. Her new book is Bread and Butter, Cakes and Bakes from Granny's Stove. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you keeping?
Morning, Greg. How are you?
Fantastic.
I'm very well.
And congratulations on your new book. It is exactly how I like it. It's beautiful and it's simple, a bit like myself.
Of course. Thank you very much. It's very exciting. It doesn't quite feel real yet, but it's slowly starting to sink in that it's actually in shops now, as of yesterday. So it's getting all very exciting.
Yeah, the pictures are great in it, and the recipes are detailed. All of it, most of it seems, I mean, there's different stuff for different skill levels. But if you've got a sweet tooth and you like creating things, this is the book for you, isn't it?
Definitely. There's lots of sweet treats. There's some nice breads, on the savoury kind of more cleaner route as well, but lots of sweet treats in there too, because it is all about baking.
Lemon curd flatbread. It looks absolutely delicious. Tell us why you named the book Cakes and Bakes from Granny's Stove. Is this drawing on your own family's experience or other people's more traditional recipes, or why did you want to come with this approach, Ciara?
Well, I think it started from my family's kind of approach, in that my granny was a great baker. Now, I never actually knew her, but I felt like she was kind of there in all these moments with my growing up, because there was always one of her recipes used for whatever occasion it was. And then there was the whole backstory of, when Granny was alive, she would have done this and that. But then I feel like the more I've spoke to people about it, they're the same. Everybody is like, my granny makes great wheaten bread, or my granny makes great pancakes. And everybody can relate to the whole kind of my granny's a great baker ethos. So that's why I wanted to make it and kind of dedicate it to grannies who have this lovely baking tradition.
Yeah, and the thing too is you actually have weights and measures in your book. Grannies often, in my experience, don't employ that. They seem to be able to make it perfectly by just chucking it in by eye and feel.
It's very much intuition for them, and my mum is exactly the same. Her scones are incredible, and she can just be like, it's just a wee bit of that and a wee bit of this. Whereas for me, it's very much, I need a measurement. And I think that's the skill that they have, because they're doing it so much, or were doing it so much in those days when it was a necessity. It just became like an intuition and a second nature almost.
Yeah, exactly. And that comes from years and years of experience. It doesn't surprise me to see that this book is published out of the same publishing house as Brian McDermott's Donegal Table, because it has the same quality and feel to it, Ciara.
Yeah, and it was one of the ones I had looked at for inspiration, and I know that Brian McDermott's is very much about where he grew up, and I was kind of trying to capture a bit of that myself, because it was all about my growing up and how food kind of shaped my childhood with these memories that I've got from it now.
It's particularly important to you, is it, that it tastes great but as best as possible looks great?
Yes, and I think that's maybe my art and design background. So my undergrad degree was graphic design and illustration. My dad's a great artist, my mom's a great baker, and I feel like I'm kind of a blend of the two. So I try to bake the thing to make it look, or make it taste lovely, but also I focus on the visual aspect too. So maybe add a nice decoration or some piping or something a bit quirky to make it look as good as it tastes.
Yeah, and you start off too with equipment, because this is like someone who, maybe people try and wing it, or you try and Google a recipe, and no harm to that, right? And I'm not sure if you do it too, but apologies if you've got an online present. But you look how to make a scone, and there's a full essay before you can actually get to the ingredients and how to do it, and it's a thing, and I'm sure people love that. But you can't beat a book where you cut to the page and everything's there, and all the, you don't have to go through those pages of why someone might want to make a scone.
That's where jump to recipe is really handy on those websites.
I feel bad though, because someone's gone to the bother of typing it all out. And listen, come here. We better get on with making a pancake, because it's Pancake Tuesday. You have all your equipment there. I don't know if we could have talked and done it at the same time, but come here. How do we start? What are you going to do first?
Well, I'm going to start with the dry ingredients. So that's my flour, which I've sieved out already. And it's weighed out. So I'll just turn on my fan here to heat while I'm speaking.
Yes.
And I'm putting the flour in the bowl with the sugar, which again is weighed out. Now you can see there's only a wee tiny bit of sugar in Granny's recipes, or in this recipe. And I think
how much flour and how much sugar have you put in so far there?
So it's 125 grams of self-raising flour, and that's important too, just to give them that rise. Then it's 35 grams of sugar.
And how many pancakes can we hope to make from this batter?
Well, it serves about 4, so about 8 pancakes, then 2 each.
Excellent. Okay, so people can half it or multiply it as they see fit. Right, so you're going to stir the sugar in with the flour now, is that right?
Yes. I know in my house, 1 times the mixture wouldn't go anywhere, so we have to multiply it by tenfold to get them.
Okay.
I'm grabbing my butter here, which I've melted. I've melted it and then left it to cool. I don't want it too hot because the next one we're going to put in is the egg. And if this was roasting, then it would just cook the egg. That's a different breakfast altogether. So I'm putting in the butter, just melt it, and just stirring it in roughly.
And is that for luxury, is it? Because I haven't seen butter in them before. Is that to give it an extra richness, or does it serve another function?
Yeah, the taste, it does make them richer. I also find it helps with stopping it stick too, because I have tried to use, I'm quite health conscious, I've tried to use kind of low fat spreads and stuff in replacement for it. It doesn't work the same. You just need like the wee bit of grease or lubrication from the butter just to help them glide off, hopefully.
Right, so we've got the flour, the sugar and the butter in there. What's next?
Flour, sugar, butter. So I'm moving on to the egg then, and I'm cracking it into just a separate glass, which I always do just in case there could be any wee fatties in it. So you're safer, rather than spoiling it and putting it straight in there, safer cracking it into something different and give it a wee whisk.
Okay.
So I'm putting that into there, and I don't really need to do anything yet. I'm going to measure out my milk into measuring jug. So I've said in the recipe to measure out 300 millilitres of milk. Now there's big debate in my house whether it should be thin pancakes or thick pancakes. I like thick and fluffy. Daddy likes thin. There's always an argument. We'll have that later tonight. But 300 mils.
Who wins? Sorry, who wins the argument?
Usually Dad.
Does it matter if it's low fat milk, full fat milk?
No, it doesn't actually. And I think Granny used to use buttermilk, maybe. My mum took the recipe, and she was a HE teacher in a school in Belfast, and she wanted to make it more accessible, so she was just using your normal semi-skimmed milk, which is exactly what this is.
Okay.
Just so that it's easy and it doesn't make a difference at all. And I'm measuring out 300 millilitres of that. But what you don't want to do is chuck all this milk in straight away. If you add it gradually, then you can build up the kind of consistency that you want. So you're looking for maybe something like yogurty, thick like that. Unless you want the kind of crepe style, in which case go for more milk. So I'm going to put in just kind of like half, and I'm doing it roughly by eye, because then I can add more as I need to. Let's move this out of the way. There might be a bit of noise here, Greg, just as I put on my whisk.
That's okay. Oh, you're going to use a whisk? Well, that'll speed it up, because we've about 3 minutes, so the whisk is a good idea.
Yeah, so whisk, you could use, traditional hand one, but I'm using an electric one just for speed.
Okay.
And it makes it a wee bit better.
All right, so whisk in the batter. Half the milk is in now at this stage, so presumably when that comes up to a nice consistent. I can't say the word. Can you help me? Consistency. Yeah, consistency. Then you chuck the rest of the milk in.
Yeah, so that's a wee bit thick still. I'm going to add in a bit more.
All right, mixing away here. The pan's hot now at this stage, so hopefully we get to see one before 11. There's no pressure, but I was talking so much about your book, I've left it tight on you.
So yeah, something like this, where it's like got a little bit of resistance when you swivel the whisks through.
So not too watery, not too thick.
Not too watery, not too thick. Somewhere kind of in the middle.
Okay.
So then you're on to cooking. And I'm using just an electric griddle pan.
Oh, lovely.
My grandson used one of these nice rustic ones.
Oh wow, that's beautiful. For those that watch, will see it, but if not, it's just like the base of a pan with a little strap over the top of it.
Yeah.
That would have gone on the stove, presumably, or wherever.
She would have put it on the stove and cleaned it with a turkey wing. Apparently that got all the flour off it quite well. And she would have put 4 pancakes out onto this. Although she had 8 kids, so I think she was in a similar situation in that she had to multiply the mixture quite a few times.
Yeah, for sure.
Over and over it for quite a while, probably.
Right, you're ladling this on now.
I am ladling this on, so you want to take a scoop of it and just hope for the best that it goes into a nice circle shape. And you don't worry if you get any drips. They're little baby pancakes, and you can have them straight off the griddle.
They're kind of like the little bits of chips you get, aren't they? Sometimes those the little escapees are the nicest ones.
The wee crispy bits are better, yeah.
Yeah. You've done quite well there. They are quite circular looking now. There's no doubt about that.
From a bird's eye view, there's maybe a few squiggly edges.
When do you turn them then? Because this is the big temptation, to turn them too quick and it falls to bits. Or
yes, I know. So what I look for is they'll start to bubble on the top, and those bubbles will start to kind of pop, and you can kind of see it looks a little bit more solid rather than drippy.
Yeah.
So it's basically once the bubbles have started to pop, you know they're kind of getting there and they're kind of going to be cooked through. And then it's just a matter of flipping them. And then I've got some toppings here for after. So I like fresh fruit on mine, a little bit of healthiness. You could also go for something like lemon. I know that lemon and sugar is quite a popular.
Yeah, that's my favourite. Yeah, lemon and sugar.
Yeah.
But I only ever use the lemon once a year. So by the time it comes around to Pancake Tuesday again, it's out of date, and I have to decide whether I risk it or not.
I don't know if you can see on the camera, but these little bubbles are starting to pop. So I'm just loosening them at the sides here.
Yeah. This is all going too smoothly. I was hoping it would break in half and stuff.
One clip.
And there's a lovely colour to that. Now, would you not get the butter out again, spread a load of butter over the top of that, sprinkle loads of sugar on it as well? No, that would be unhealthy.
I can tell you're very health conscious.
It's one day of the year. I'm giving up pancakes for Lent. What else do you want?
That is true, and that is the tradition. You know, this was the feast before the famine.
Yeah.
So I suppose you can top up with whatever amount of chocolate and Nutella you want today, and then go back to being healthy tomorrow.
Well, listen, they look absolutely delicious, and I'm salivating even looking at them, as does your book. Your book is out right now, isn't it? It's Bread and Butter, Cakes and Bakes from Granny's Stove, and I think it's nice that it's dedicated to sort of, sweet and savoury desserts, which is handy to have it separate, everything separated out.
So that's kind of what you're going for, a nice little stack like this. But yes, that's exactly right. It's dedicated to desserts and all those nice treats that you can enjoy as a family for special occasions. So,
ta-da! Exactly. Well done. Congratulations on your book. Thank you so much for the wee demonstration there, and we wish you all the success in the future. Great to have you on the programme.
Thank you.
All right, take care of yourself. Bye-bye. That was excellent. All right, that was... you can watch that back on our social media if you wish to a little later on. That was Ciara McLaughlin, who I'd suggest already has a great career, but a particularly bright future ahead of her. Right, I'm late for the news again. It's 11:11. It's time for an update, and it's good morning this time to Michaela Clark. Okay, we'll be crossing over to Michaela now just in a moment, as soon as I get this desk in order. Right, Michaela, bear with me. It is over to you now. Good morning.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A Ukrainian woman now living in Letterkenny says shock has turned to reality. Oksana says she thought it was impossible in the 21st century that the events witnessed in Ukraine over the past 6 days would ever occur. She says given the actions of Vladimir Putin, no one knows what the world will be like tomorrow. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has described missile attacks on Kharkiv as state terrorism by Russia. Meanwhile, a 40-mile-long convoy of armoured Russian vehicles is heading towards Kyiv. The Kremlin says sanctions imposed on Russia by Western nations won't change their position, while also denying allegations of strikes on civilian targets. Meanwhile, the Donegal Intercultural Platform is coordinating a number of events to support Ukraine and is also gathering first aid and other essential materials to be shipped over by a Dublin-based company. On today's 9 till noon show, Paul Kernan of the Intercultural Platform urged any Ukrainian people in Donegal to make contact with them. A number of events are being held across Donegal this week in solidarity with the people of Ukraine. Vigils will be held in Letterkenny over the coming days, while a Ukraine Solidarity mural is set to be unveiled tomorrow evening on the Port Road. Gardaí and Donegal are encouraging people to review their home security in light of an increase in burglaries. Over the weekend, there were 4 break-ins in Inishowen and 1 in Lifford, which Gardaí believe may have been linked. On today's Community Garda slot, Garda Niall Maguire said this reflects an increase in burglaries, particularly in border areas, and people should follow the lock up, light up motto at all times. He also urged people to report any suspicious activity in their area to Gardaí. The Canadian ambassador to Ireland is in Donegal. Nancy Smith has met with the Cathaoirleach of Donegal County Council and representatives of Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce and Letterkenny Institute of Technology during her visit. She's praised Ireland for its efforts in terms of tourism. 123 vehicles have been checked speeding in the first 2 hours of National Slowdown Day out of nearly 25,000 checked. Among them, a motorist was caught driving 130 km per hour on the M50 in Dublin. Gardaí are appealing to drivers to comply with speed limits, with the operation continuing until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Garda Niall Maguire says today isn't about slowing down, it's about saving lives. And members of Derry City and Strabane District Council have posthumously granted the freedom of the city and district to NHS nurse and Strabane man Pat McManus, who died of COVID-19 in 2020. The proposal to confer the freedom of the Derry City and Strabane District was prompted by a motion brought before the Council in June 2020, with plans being delayed due to COVID restrictions. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
OK, Michaela, thank you very much indeed for that. Now, stay right where you are, because in the next hour, amongst other things, we're going to be talking about the hospitality industry. Is it something that you could see yourself having a career in? If not, why not? We're going to be talking to 2 people heavily involved in it, out of Harvey's Point or associated with Harvey's Point Hotel as well. And we're going to be discussing what we believe the summer has in store. And of course, as I mentioned, maybe what needs to be done to address the recruitment challenges that many hotels right across the country, I don't think it matters whether you're in rural Ireland or urban Ireland, a lot of businesses are facing the same challenges they face, the same challenges and the same problems. But hopefully it's going to be a positive and bright 2022. That's what we're looking for, isn't it? Okay, they'll be joining us after these. Okay, well, we seem to be having a difficulty with the commercial break there, so we'll crack on with some of your comments here. Hi, Greg. My son got money stole out of his car on Friday evening. Him and his brothers were attending an anniversary mass in St. Johnstone. The money was taken from his wallet, just to make people aware and to be vigilant as it relates to keeping valuables in sight in their cars, indeed. And it is a message that we relate regularly here on the programme, because we have to, because unfortunately it happens all too often. Greg, leave the house unlocked and the light on for these gangs, because they're caught. They don't get the sentences they deserve. When it goes to court, boil the kettle so these gangs can make tea while they're illegally in your home. That comes in from Patrick in Dunlow. Patrick, I get the frustration. I understand where you're coming from. Clearly that's not good security advice, but I understand the frustration there can be with sentences. I must agree with your last caller about Palestine. I'm so heartbroken about the situation there, which has been going on for years. Why is no one going to help? Right, okay, and I understand that's a broadly held point of view. What about the citizens of Yemen under siege by the US-backed Saudis? No prayer or pancake day fundraisers for these poor people, or for the genocide of Christians in Iraq. The hypocrisy of the West is nauseating. And last one for now. Greg, a member of our family, was to have an interview with HSE yesterday. Nothing to do with consultant's job, but within the hospital. He tested positive for COVID on Sunday, so he rang yesterday morning, wonder if he could do the interview on Zoom or reschedule the interview, but was told they couldn't do that. Can they do that, or should they at least try to accommodate people in these circumstances? Well, I'm not sure of the answer to that. I know what we perhaps feel should happen. All right, we didn't get to play music at 10:30 because it was a very busy first hour of the show, so we are going to take a break for that music now and rejoin us. We'll be joined by our guests Noel Cunningham and Niall Coffy after this, hopefully from Bob Marley. Okay, that was, of course, Bob Marley and Could You Be Loved. Okay, delighted to welcome to studio now Noel Cunningham, Hotel Ambassador for Harvey's Point in Donegal Town, and for the last 7 or 8 years now, Donegal Person of the Year. It's good to have you on the programme with us.
Yes.
Is your reign that long?
No. Look, I've made history in different ways. My uncle was also Donegal Person of the Year, and it just so happened that COVID decreed that I should wear the tiara for a few years longer than most. Well, and you know what? That's all right.
If the tiara fits, wear it. Isn't
absolutely.
That the saying? Niall Coffy is General Manager of Harvey's Point 2. Niall, it's great to have you on the programme. Great to meet you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I suppose... the hospital, what are we looking at for 2022? Do we know in terms of, is it going to be a bumper? Are we going to see a mixture of, those staycationers that got the Donegal buzz and will come back and then mix that in with the Northern Irish market, which it seems is remaining strong, and then maybe some international visitors? I mean, is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, it looks pretty good, actually. We had a good start to the year. Very, very positive. I think certainly... all the new people that came and discovered Donegal, they're returning. They really had a fantastic time. We're certainly seeing people wanting to go out, enjoy themselves and so forth. The international market hasn't come back just yet, and we expect that to be slow. But the staycations in Donegal are fantastic, and people are really enjoying it. It's been very, very positive.
And I think too, and I don't want to labour it at the point because it's quite obvious though, but with people travelling within Ireland, they realise that maybe it's more accessible. It's great value for money. We've got a fantastic offering here. No matter where you're based, be it in Letterkenny or at Harvey's or the Inishowen Gateway Hotel, you've got great access if you use that as a base, for example. Or there's brilliant hotels in Ardra, Dunlow as well, the Waterfront and Nesbitt Arms. You know what I mean? You start listing them off and you think, well, we've got some really, really good hotels. But you can base yourself there, and there's so much that you probably haven't seen before, even if you're from down the country, that you can experience.
Yeah, total of 56 hotels in Donegal, all fantastic hotels, really, really good. Some fantastic B&Bs, Airbnbs. The selection is endless, and to get people into County Donegal, that's what it's all about. It's to discover it. Space is a big thing. Amazing sites, 14 blue flag beaches. Amazing. Just a fantastic place to come.
Yeah, and you're flat out telling people that, Noel, aren't you? I mean, that's one of your big passions, isn't it?
Absolutely.
If anyone hasn't heard of it,
because
don't realise it, let them know.
It's only a few short years ago when people were calling us the Forgotten County or the Back of Beyonds, and one would have thought that if you got in a car in Dublin, you were going to arrive in Donegal about 24 hours later.
Well, a lot of that we did that, but it was a means to an end, wasn't it? It was a terrible balance to try and strike, because
absolutely
you want to fight for your services, Noel, but at the same time you don't want to discourage or seem like a pack of moaners, or
Absolutely, and we had some great people that promote our county, and they do so without even thinking about it. Jason Quigley, Daniel O'Donnell, Packy Boner, Shay Given. We have to keep the county name out there. And Niall was mentioning all the lovely hotels we have in the county. You can't be insular and talk about just Harvey's Point. We are selling Donegal as a destination, and Niall rightly says we have to think of our city and town hotels that need the international traveller back. Dublin definitely needs both commercial, corporate and the tourist back, and they will come back, but Donegal definitely on the cusp of greatness.
I think Dublin has a difficult task, a more difficult task, and you're even seeing, and I'm not sure if it was the motivation, but new hotels being repurposed. As I say, maybe they're looking at what 2022, 2023 has to offer. But I think, the secret's out that there are places outside of Dublin. So I think, maybe Dublin has big challenges ahead now.
Yeah, Dublin it's tough. It depends so much on that international market. That overseas business market is crucial for Dublin, like any major city. And it's challenging. But, it's so important for Ireland to work to follow on from what Noel said. But yeah, it has challenges. People are, and they've realised now how easy, as you said yourself, to travel around Ireland, but also to discover new places, and the product in Ireland as a whole is fantastic,
It's going to vary from place to place, but we're going to be in a situation where hopefully we have a really, really busy summer, and businesses are open, restaurants, bars, hotels. I think more so than B&Bs and Airbnbs, they're reliant on employment of staff. And I think we saw statistics that says we're about 44,000 staff short. What do you think the problem is there? Why have people used the lockdown to get into different, maybe training, different jobs? Or what do you think's happened now that we're seeing that shortfall now?
Yeah, it's a real challenge. I think it is a couple of things. People absolutely have changed career. They've looked at it and said, maybe they were in the industry and they were chefs and they fell out of love with it, and they've looked at different careers. They might have a little bit more home time and so forth. And also there's a perception in the industry that out there that the hospitality industry isn't a good career,
Is that fair though? I mean, like, let's say how young people would engage with working in the hospitality industry, 17, 18 or something like that, 19. They're maybe working in the summer or between college. They will go in at the busiest time probably in the summer. They will probably end up working to close, and they probably won't come out of it with a great deal of money. And if that were your only experience of the hospitality industry, and I'm not saying that's what it is, but that's the perception out there. If that was your only experience of it, why would you want to work in it? And I just wonder if that's a huge disadvantage, that the first contact workers have with it is like, no.
But the thing about that is that's the perception, and that's not the case anymore. I'm delighted to say, you know, the industry as a whole has really looked at it. And when I started my career in hotel management, what an exciting career. And Fáilte Ireland are very much involved in it. We're working with LYIT on a transitional year programme and so forth. But to come back to your point, no longer is it a poorly paid industry. No longer is it an industry that you go in and you finish it late into the night.
Are you
and so
sure?
forth.
If you go looking for a summer job now in the hospitality industry, are you saying the reality isn't as I portrayed it?
Yes, 100%. Any business that's following the guidelines and has an interest in the care for their team members, and they'll be successful businesses, because at Harvey's the focus is all about the team, and that's why Harvey's Point is so successful. Beautiful building, amazing location, looking over Loch Esk, Blue Stack Mountains, but it's all about the team. If Harvey's Point didn't have that amazing welcome, it wouldn't be as successful as it is. And that's over the last 32, 33 years. It's all about the people. And to keep the people, you have to look after the people.
Noel, do you believe that philosophy is as widespread as Niall is portraying there?
No, I 100% agree with Niall. It's the case, the challenge we have.
Well, I don't know the people I'm speaking to working many different areas, and what you're saying is not the reality I hear from them. That they're having to, as I say, work till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. They have to work every, you know, they're looking at, they're going to have to work the 4 days of the St. Patrick's weekend, you know, that they don't feel that they're being paid enough. So, I mean, like, I feel like I'm speaking to different people working in the industry in different areas of the county than what you're talking about here.
My response to that would very clearly be that the people in the industry, the young people who are working in Harvey's for the last few years or the last 5 years, 6 years, they come in sometimes at sort of pre-leaving cert and they remain until after university. They would not agree with that.
I'm not doubting
and you know, there's
what
another
you're saying in relation to your own place.
There's another. I always say, some years ago I went to Saudi Arabia, and the interesting sort of contradiction there was, and the industry. Any industry there would tell you they'd gone from the camel to the Cadillac overnight. And suddenly young people had this expectation that money would never dry up, that they could swan through life and not work, and plenty of dough. Well, now it has changed. Now they have a real problem trying to sort of look at other areas to make the country prosperous away from oil. We're a bit like that in Ireland. When you have a period of really strong economic development and lots of spending power, you know, parents must still instill in young people to get anywhere you have to work hard. And I sometimes get irked that young people are talking about sort of our industry or any industry. They haven't experienced it, and maybe there's no pressure put on them at home to realise that, look, apart from, you know, years ago everybody was going into technology. We need the trades, we need sort of the grassroots. Tourism is still one of our biggest industries
so
in Ireland.
So not words in your mouth, are we monocoddling our young people to the point that regular work, say for instance in the hospitality sector, they're not fit for it?
We have to be careful, and maybe
not generalise, but I'm just saying
the last couple of years when there were supports going and where young people were perhaps getting money without having to go to work at all. You know,
but
all of those
on the
things.
flip side of it too, by the way, and I'm not being argumentative, but I can't, you know, I have to say what's in my head. There isn't. I think there's a strong argument to suggest that the government supports, right, you know, highlighted the pay in certain sectors. In other words, a rate was struck, €350, for example, was struck. You would have to, a lot of people felt, not just in hospitality but other areas, that they have to work an awful lot long hours to get that, or if you're on social welfare, it's much less than that. So I think it served two purposes, Noel, in what you said, but also I think it kind of held a mirror up to some within certain industries, Niall.
Yeah, like, look, we were very lucky to have the government support for a start, ensure that people stayed employed and so forth. But to follow up in your I suppose your train of thought in regard to highlight, I don't know if I agree with that, because that subsidy that was given was a standard that was introduced to support. There's very few people working at Harvey's Point full time. There's absolutely none that are earning €350 for a week's work. the industry has woken up to it. There's no doubt about it that it was an industry that was low paid and so forth. Not anymore.
But starting off, most people will be on minimum wage, not won't be seen as a living
or slightly higher, And most hotels are paying it slightly higher than, and then there's an opportunity to grow your wages.
Let's
and
talk
so
about
forth.
that, because I want to focus on the positives here and what is trying to be done. But at the same time, I just couldn't, in all consciousness, not highlight things that I hear and see. Now, you understand that it just wouldn't be the type of me that I couldn't just brush over that. So how do you get the message across then that this is a career, that there is career progression, that maybe you have to start at the bottom rung, like in all jobs? It could be wherever you're at, building site, tech company, wherever it is. You know, how do we get the message to people to say, look, this is actually a career, this is not a summer job, or this is not a fill-in, this is something you can actually do for the rest of your life?
Yeah, like I suppose without a doubt, Fáilte Ireland are going to be a big part in 2002 and 2003 and beyond about pushing out the career and travelling the world and so forth. Another opportunity that we saw in last summer, we worked with LYIT and Fáilte Ireland that I mentioned earlier on.
You're a founding member of this initiative, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And Irish Hotels Federation have been involved in it as well, where we welcome transitional year students into the hotels. All hotels were involved in, well, a lot of hotels in Donegal were involved in it, where they came in, they had an experience in the hotel. We had a total of 18 employees working over the summer and so forth, earning some money, whether that be working 2, 3 days or 5 days, and then they have an opportunity to work for the summertime. So the positives out of that, out of the 18, there's 2 now interested in the industry, which doesn't sound like a lot, but there's so many industries out there.
Course,
and it's a slow burner to get the word out there. You still have some magnificent colleges, not only LYIT, but Shannon and GMIT, where the opportunities are endless. I suppose it's about, because there's a lot of competition, there's a lot of great careers out there. And I suppose it suits people who maybe are into the arts, follow a career in chefing, that love to give that céad míle a fáilte, working as a bartender. And also the great thing about the hospitality is it's moved to the hours that suit. So it might be a parent at home that want to drop their kids off in the morning and can come in now and work 3-4 hours. And, you know, and not only about earning money, but also that social skill of meeting people, enjoying it, come in, have a lovely break. You're always well looked after. And to come back to your point, and absolutely there's so many people that maybe are not looked after in the industry, but that's the same as any industry.
Yeah, okay. No, I know, but it's this industry, the perception seems much stronger, I think. It's the same maybe to some extent with retail. And listen, there'll always be opportunities for younger people, hopefully, in hospitality, you know, to get a few quid together for whatever, and that's fine. But it's very much in your business, the interest, Noel, and in any retention of staff, that familiarity, work with a team, build a team, and everyone knows what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. So that's where the incentive comes for employers to look after their employees.
Oh, absolutely. And at the end of the day, in any industry, you're only as strong as the weakest member of your team, and that would be a philosophy that ingrained respect for the people who are on the shop floor. And to follow on from what Niall was saying, later on this month we will have the entire transition group from the secondary school in Killybegs, St. Catherine's. We will take half of them in the morning, half of them in the afternoon. We will do a little workshop with them at their request. They will meet some fellow peers, better way of putting it, who work with us part-time during the winter and full-time in the summer. And in doing that, we will be telling them this is the industry, not maybe the perception you have, because it's a little bit off kilter. Now, Greg, you know me, I'm fairly direct as well. There is no doubt about it. Some of what you allude to has been the image, and maybe justifiably so, going back some years, but Niall hit it on the head. There'll always be operators within any industry that just don't do it right. And we had national and international headlines some years ago about sort of service tips and all that were being misappropriated. Our industry does not follow that kind of philosophy. We are in a situation where we have a great industry, we want to promote it, and I say to parents out there and those in career driven jobs or advice in schools, tell are young people that under one roof you can have several careers. Would that be fair enough now?
And I suppose too, with if people aren't staying in the industry, there are then the progression roles, maybe head of something or manager of that or duty this, that and the other, that then you struggle to fill those positions because not you don't, I'm on about the industry, if you're not retaining the staff. So in other words, the 44,000 vacancies that are there may not all be entry-level vacancies as well, presumably.
There's a lot of senior positions out there. There's a lot of really important roles that without a doubt are hard to fill. But every career, every operation are finding it hard to fill.
But there's an opportunity there for people to pivot.
Oh, absolutely.
In other industries, they might go, I need a career change here, but they might have skills that are very easily adaptable with some training, switch into to hospitality.
And the great thing about it is that you can move quickly in the hospitality industry. If you're hardworking, dedicated, willing to go that extra mile, you can move very, very quickly. And all of a sudden, coming in at an entry level or coming in at middle management, all of a sudden you can be in charge of a department and leading a team.
Yeah, it must be exciting for you and for Noel as well to be involved with sort of, like being in the guardianship of the future of the industry, like encouraging that young person to go, right, actually maybe that is an option for you, and who's to say that you might not bump into them in 10 years time when they're a hotel manager themselves. It must be nice to be there at the start through LYIT and with Fulch Ireland. It must be personally nice to be involved in.
It really is, Greg. Yeah, I love the industry. I think so many people that I know that are involved in the industry really do love it. We work with a management company called Windward Management, and they have an ethos of looking after the people and creating this very positive environment for them to work in and so forth. But absolutely, there's nothing more enjoyable to see a young person develop, or even not even develop, but come out of their shell. There's so many young kids that come in, they're quiet, and next thing all of a sudden you see them going over to a guest. Oh, did you enjoy your meal?
Great development.
Oh, it's fantastic.
To be able to actually converse. I think I could get Noel started on that one. He might have 10 minutes. I won't today, but I just suspect he might.
Niall warned me. He said, for once, let me get a word in edgeways. Absolutely.
Already people texting in, and there's this perception, or maybe it's a reality, that hotels are too expensive, right? That if you want to go... Now, there's all different hotels with different offering, but someone says, I wanted to get away. I tried to book a hotel this weekend. Of course, weekend is always problematic. It was €300 for 2 nights, bed and breakfast. It's just not logical for a couple, right? So, I mean, is 150 per night at the weekend, depending where you are, of course, is that how much it costs, or are hotels pricing themselves out of it? As I say, different hotels might have a boutique offering or more luxurious offering, and others might just, it might be location that's the key. But as I say, I know texts are going to come in on that one, Niall. Talk to me a little bit about that, about the pricing, and, if it were 75 quid a night, I'd go.
Yeah, it really is, and there's certainly so many different options of different properties that you can go and experience and so forth for everyone's price range, whether you're being Donegal or then in Kerry, wherever you want to go and experience. But absolutely, there is a price point, and there's no doubt about it. There's that demand aspect. The weekend is when it's really busy. We also have that wedding market, as so many other hotels have, and that does bump up the price. But it's all about value, and it's all about experience.
And I presume, you have to look at occupancy maybe over the course of 365 days. And Hannah, how you do it on your weekends means that you can continue to employ people and have a premises open, say, Monday through Thursday, when the occupancy, generally speaking, not in your place, generally speaking, might be lower.
Absolutely.
I mean, is that just basic business?
That's absolutely right. You're 100% right. And there is so much value out there in midweek to go away and explore and experience midweek. But there is no doubt about it. It is going to be more expensive at the weekend.
If you go and try and book a Ryanair flight on St. Patrick's Day or the day before it, but it's not gouging.
No, not at all. It's basic business, and as you rightly said, it's about keeping people employed and so forth. We do everything in our power always to give value. It's all about always giving value.
All right, Noel?
Look, at the end of the day, and the only message I try to impart, our industry is about lights, camera, action. It's that marvellous stage a lovely place. Where else can I go into work wearing a bow tie and a silk hanky
At 6
cascading
o'clock
out
in
of
the
a
morning.
pocket
6
at 6
o'clock
in the morning?
I mean,
The
come on.
milkman says,
You having a laugh?
Jesus, where your man going at
I
that
think
hour in the morning?
Donald in the newsroom still he relates this. He still hasn't got over the fact that he had to stay in Harvey's Point, and the last thing he expected, in all his splendour, was Noel Cunningham there for breakfast
in a bow tie.
Yeah, and he loved it, by the way. But
and
I
the
think
other thing is,
he held you in high regard already, but kind of went even.
And the reality is, it's all about, as Niall said, it's value for money. I can tell you that the majority of people walking out of hotels all over Ireland, not just at Harvey's Point, if they perceive, they might have thought that was a bit pricey, but let's go for it, it's on my wish list. When they leave the hotel and are able to say, that was terrific value for money, you are providing what we say. We're saying, this is Harvey's Point, this is the Nesbitt Arms, this is Rathmullen House. That's what we charge, but we feel justified in doing so because we are giving you an experience. And there's no gouging. And this idea that we load, I mean, our rates are set well in advance. They go across a period of time. Most good operators will do the same so that you know.
I know, no, Helen, you say, I know, right? I know what you're saying. But on the mere speculation, say, for instance, of Garth Brooks concerts, the prices go through the roof over that. And this is what you are battling against because, you know, as you said right from the get-go, Niall, and you emphasised it, Noel, you know, what can happen in a small part of the industry can end up then tarnishing the whole industry.
Oh, absolutely. But the secret there is that if Garth Brooks is going to be possibly in Dublin next year, you get in there early and get it sorted kind of thing. That's the reality. That's supply and demand. And thankfully, the football pitch in Donegal Town is too small for cars, so that's why we don't gouge or put up our rates.
But the funny thing is football fans, you know, they will look at the Champions League and what might happen, and they'll speculate and they'll book, you know, and they'll say, right, this could happen, and we'll chance it there. It's about getting people into the industry, isn't it? Finally, that are passionate about it and that are proud to work in it. It's like everything. It's like here, you know, if people don't want to come in here and they're, you know, you need a career change if that's how you feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, look, the hospitality industry is a fantastic place to be. Very enjoyable, lots of opportunities, you know, and a great lifestyle. Very, very enjoyable.
Yeah. All right. Listen.
And furthermore, we're now in that lovely, happy position that we're looking for staff for our lovely summer wedding season ahead. And that is so suited to young people who are at college, pre-leaving cert, after leaving cert. It's just great. Come and see what we're really like.
And also, look, your CV. I mean, these things are so important when you have finished your college, no matter what you're going through, people look at you and say, well, what did you do?
Yeah.
You know, the gaps.
Yeah, that you
a
managed.
bit of volunteering. You know,
absolutely.
a bit of
and that you
graft.
managed to hold down a job in a very busy hotel for 4 or 5 years for every summer and working weekends as a student. Sure, that's going to stand you in great stead no matter where you go in life.
All right, listen, it's all been very interesting. And as I say, you know, had to touch on the tougher stuff as well, but you've had all the answers, and I think it's important. Greg, tell Noel and Niall to keep doing the Sunday sleepovers. They're so enjoyable. I don't know.
Very good.
Absolutely.
You get to stay with you two, do you?
And if Garth Brooks is around, they'll still be the same good value.
Will you be doing the fabulous Wednesday night shows again? And if so, when are they starting? It's your cabaret, is it?
Absolutely, and we are currently planning the cabaret, and you know, one has to say and be quite honest about it, because there were so many weddings that were booked with us and had to be postponed or pushed back, that we've had to claim back a few Wednesdays in order.
You have to look at the calendar.
Absolutely,
yeah.
But the cabaret, Eamon is busily putting the artists and getting them lined up, and that's going to be on definitely September, October, and who knows, we'll see what demand is like. We might even extend it, not right now.
That's correct, yeah. So we have 8 dates penciled in for September and October, so exciting times ahead. Eamon Gillespie working hard at getting some fantastic acts.
Yes, and in terms of it's attempts are on now to push the season, to lengthen the season. Generally speaking, I mean that happened last year organically, but obviously those in the industry tried hard to do so. But to push it out, if you can link it to the Halloween break, for example, and maybe even beyond, that's
absolutely
where it's at,
and it comes back to giving that real value.
Yeah.
And if we learned anything during COVID, be good to ourselves.
I learned nothing.
You know, be good to ourselves. And look at...
I've come out of this thicker than I went into it.
No, we're all changed. We're all changed, and be good to ourselves. And look, don't wait till a week before to book a nice Halloween break at a lovely hotel that you've always wanted to go to. Do it today, sort it, you know, and that's, you know what? We are in an industry that just provides fun, enjoyment, laughter. We're going to continue with that, and we love that industry, and we will convince our young people that that's the industry to be in for sure.
Noel Cunningham, Hotel Ambassador for Harvey's Point in Donegal Town, Donegal Person of the Year 2 for 9 years now. I think it's an extra year since we started the interview.
Yes, you've had a birthday while we've been here. Okay, I take your point.
No, it's fantastic. I think honestly, and I mean this genuinely, I don't think if you had to extend it because of the COVID, you could have left it in anyone's more capable hands, Noel, because you've used it to... you know, to do all the stuff that you've done and to get the word out there on many issues, not just hospitality, but mental health, our youth. So I think its stewardship was in very safe hands for the prolonged period. So
kind. Thank you.
I take the hand, but that's my genuine feelings.
Thank you very much.
And also Niall, Coffy, General Manager of Harvey's Point. We'll be back with more on the programme after the break.
Win with low prices from SuperValue with a great range in-store and online, like SuperValue Green Pesto, only $1.25. Epic! SuperValue Spaghetti Bolognese meal for one, 400 gram, only $3.50. Super! And SuperValue Non-Bio Powder 30 wash, only $2.81. Winning! Win with low prices that compete with anyone. Win with SuperValue.
Study at the College of Agriculture, Food and Rural Enterprise this September. Coffy is Northern Ireland's specialist agri-food and land-based college with campuses at Greenmount, Antrim, Loughry, Cookstown and Enniskillen. Discover courses in agriculture, food, horticulture, equine, floristry, veterinary nursing, land-based engineering and business. Join our virtual open week each evening on Discover Coffey Facebook from Monday 7th of March. For event information visit cafre.ac.uk.
When it comes to herding up the latest news, views and reviews on farming in Ireland, nobody does it like the Farming Independent. Chasing down key stories, trends and topics from the ever-changing world of farming and agri in Ireland. So pick up the Farming Independent every Tuesday and get the lay of the land. Up close and independent.
Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual office address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save your business hundreds, possibly thousands on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 7187 8077 for more details.
I used to play football here when I was a schoolgirl. Now I'm here coaching the next generation. Being a Garda means thinking quickly, being active and loving the excitement of not knowing what's around the corner. But it also means working as part of a team, guiding young people and helping keep people safe. You'll have plenty of skills that could help you be a Garda. You might not know what they are yet, but they're there. Apply to join as a Garda trainee by the 16th of March at publicjobs.ie. On Garda Síochána, the difference is you.
There was a monster who lived in the trees, in the house that would rattle and shake in the breeze. It was cold and small, with a terrible leak that would drip on her head and her hands and her beak. She needed it fixed and all in one batch, because she had an egg that was ready to hatch. So she went to the credit union for a renovation loan and got new windows, insulation, and extended her home. Monster loans from the credit union. Imagine more. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. If you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Credit unions in the Republic of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Mike Denver in concert with guests Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel Buncrana on Sunday, March 13th. Tickets at hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. That's Mike Denver with guests Brendan Shine and Ray Lynham at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel Buncrana, Sunday, March 13th.
Okay, now we're joined on the programme by Elaine. Good morning, Elaine.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm okay. Right, now, tell us your situation. You're in a bit stuck.
Well, do you know, we're sort of we have stage 1 approved for our house.
Mm-hmm.
And we're hoping to demolish and rebuild in the next year. So I suppose we're at the stage where we're trying to sort of pack up everything. I suppose we're lucky enough that we've a property secured in Letterkenny that we can move to during the summer, and we live out in Rye. So part of the process for that, I had to apply for a bus ticket for my kids. And, you know, sort of it's usually quite straightforward. I'm eligible for a bus ticket, and helps me then. I have to plan, I have to save my €350 to pay for the bus ticket, which is grand. But I suppose it came back that we're ineligible for a bus ticket because we're out of the area. And I suppose this started me just spiralling into the worry and the anxiety of how, you know, my kids get to school.
And if it's not clear already, by the way, you talked stage 1 there, you're living in a mica-affected house, and that is why you're having to move. That's why you're going through the stress and anxiety of a demolish and rebuild. The last thing really at this point you need to be worrying about as well, our children aren't immune from our problems. Unfortunately, there's some things you just can't protect them from. Is this added stress? It seems to me unnecessary.
Do you know what? And I suppose, like, what I decided to do then was that I'd write to all of the Donegal TDs and the ministers, and then saying, look, what would make so much easier for me is that if I put in for my bus ticket, that MICA families would, you know, if you're eligible for bus transport and you have to move out of area because of your accommodation, it would be just take all that pressure off and saying that, well, your eligible ticket will go with the child, rather than you being into the situation of you having to look for whether it's private transport or a more expensive bus ticket, or whether you have to drive your child to school. It's just one small thing that would really, really help make things a little bit easier and not spiral us into, you know, it's sort of...
Have you been able to engage with a human being, Elaine, on this? Like, I'm on about someone involved in decision-making with the school transport system. I mean, there just seems to be no human face, human interaction or human responsibility here. I don't want to do anyone a disservice, but I've covered so many of these stories that all it seems is that someone goes, wow, okay, you're going through it here, leave it with me, I'll get back to you, and they call you back in an hour and say, right, that's sorted for you.
Do you know, and that would be wonderful. Do you know, it's actually overwhelming if you could have that support. But, you know, I already feel like this is going to be a battle, because I know I've heard other parents whose children travel from Letterkenny to Milford. It always seems to be a nightmare trying to get a bus ticket or to get school transport, or it's expensive. So it seems like, you know, you're gearing up for another battle there on that one. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I sort of like, you know, I was to and fro the school transport office, and, you know, sort of, what I ended up doing was cancelling my ticket by mistake, and then I had to reapply for it. So there's nobody that I can talk to and say, look, this is the situation, you know.
Have a bit of consideration. Can you do something? Because when buses went to 50% occupancy, everyone got to school. Did they doubled up the buses, bigger buses? I don't know. But when there was a problem that needed fixing, all of a sudden, it wasn't a case of accommodating one student or two students. They were able to put on a string of accommodation to have 50% occupancy in a bus. So that we're clear on it, you are moving to Letterkenny. Your children are in school in Milford, and you're trying to get a school bus that they can just hop on with the rest of the students out of Letterkenny and go to school in Milford. That's the problem we're trying to resolve here today, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, sort of like when I put into the bus Éireann application, you know, it said if application was ineligible because it says, well, St. Unions is the school there, the local school. And, you know, it just pushes your button and says, well, look, we have enough going on. I'm not taking my children out of school. It's bad enough having to take them out of their community, take them out of their home, take them away from everything that they know to, you know, to a new area, and having to try and relocate, even though it's only 20 kilometres down the road. You know, it is a big change for us all.
Oh, it's huge. It's that casual casual meeting up, that sort of, I'm going to nip across here, that's gone. Everything becomes not an ordeal, but you know what I mean, but something that requires planning or may not be easily doable. Listen, they might go, well, we've heard stories like this before. Once you start making exceptions, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, maybe the whole system needs to be looked at, because it doesn't seem to have any human, as I say, I don't want to do anyone a disservice, but in my conversations, it doesn't feel that it has. There should be a case manager, someone that takes your information, has a chat with you, and tries to come up with a solution. There's big money swelling around here, It should be doable.
That would be amazing. It would be amazing to have somebody, and you can say, look, these are all the things that I need a little bit of help with, rather than you sort of having to go online and try and negotiate that little part. And I know sort of, parents in Letterkenny sort of like might feel, well, look, we're all in the same boat. We all have to do this. But it kind of just feels so unfair because, we don't want to move. We don't want to move out of our area. It's our home, We're being forced to move out of our house. I mean, ideally we would stay in our area. We did look at either whether we could get mobile homes, but I suppose for us as a family, we just felt that wasn't going to be doable. I've got 3 teenage children, and 3 teenagers and 2 adults in one mobile home just wouldn't work for us. We also looked at whether we could live in our house and maybe sort of be able to rebuild in the garden and that, but the house has just deteriorated so much over the last year. It just got to the stage, we need to get out, and we need to get out now, even though it's not the ideal time for us as a family to have to do that and disrupt school and everything.
Of course, but this is, you can't control it. The weather does, the blocks do. It's out of your control. When do you need when do you actually move to Letterkenny? Is it post-summer or pre-summer as well, Elaine? It's
summer. There's a house available in July. So
right, okay. So really you're talking from September onwards then, is that right? Okay. Yeah. We'll make inquiries. It can be very slow. It can be very frustrating. I think our politicians have a serious role to play in this one as well. I think Thomas Pringle so far has replied to you. He says he'll raise the issue with the Minister for Education. We're going to make our inquiries as well. But there has to be someone that can, as I say, very quickly we were able to have enough space for twice as many children. At the drop of a hat, that's what we did effectively. We made space for twice as many children, and we can't accommodate. It seems there's probably about 20 or 30 children affected by this a year. We should be able to resolve this. Yours is a particularly unique situation. We're going to make representations on your behalf, Elaine. I'd like to say I'm optimistic, but sure, we'll see. Who's to say? I mean, particularly given the circumstances, maybe someone will say, right, I'll take this on and I'll fix it. We can only hope, but we'll try our bit, Elaine, and I'm sure the politician is doing his as well, and we'll see what comes from it.
Okay, that's brilliant.
All right, that's all we can do. I wish I could do more, Elaine. I wish I could click my fingers, but we'll see what we can do. All right, take care, Elaine.
All right.
Right, okay. Hopefully that gets sorted. You don't need layers of anxiety, and that is another layer on top of the anxiety that is already there. Lots of you texting in, by the way, as it relates to hospitality industry and what have you. Stay with us. We'll get to some of those comments, and maybe we can squeeze another guest in after these messages.
Are you involved in a digital project in your town or community? Would you like to share in a €100,000 prize fund? The .ie Digital Town Awards shine a light on the achievements of local towns for digital projects in health, education, tourism and community. To enter the .ie Digital Town Awards, visit weare.ie. Terms and conditions apply.
Local Enterprise Week is back to help your business get the wind in its sails. Running from Saturday the 5th to Friday the 11th of March, Local Enterprise Week is organised by Local Enterprise Office Donegal. Chart a clear path for your business by getting advice on marketing, leadership and recruitment. Also on networking, exporting, finance and much more. Booking is essential. To see the lineup of events and speakers and to book, visit localenterprise.ie/Donegal or call 9160735. Supported by Enterprise Ireland, Donegal County Council and the Government of Ireland.
With spring nearly here, it's time to get organised. It's time to spring clean. And here at Home Store and More, we have everything you need to make it as easy as can be. From storage solutions to help you get organised, to mops and buckets to make your floors sparkle. And whether it's a deep clean or just a touch-up, we have the cloths and cleaning detergents that will make everything gleam. Order online before 2 p.m. for next day delivery or drop by your local Home Store and More. Home Store and More. A happy home.
June 2022, August 2022, January 2023. Is that what you're hearing when inquiring about the delivery of a new vehicle? Guess what? That's not the case at iMotors. Call in today and choose your new car with immediate delivery available across our full range of Nissan and Kia models. Drive away in your new 2022 car. Call iMotors in Letterkenny and Malin on 07491 34567.
Okay, so I think people generally accept that what's happening in Ukraine is going to have a knock-on effect on fuel prices. That seems inevitable. But Russia's invasion of Ukraine may also impact other areas of life not directly affected by it, of course. Animals Health Rep for Donegal IFA and Technical Sales Manager with the Inishowen Co-op is James Strain. He joins us now. Hi, James.
How are you, Greg?
I'm okay, I'm all right. So what impact do you believe what we're seeing in Eastern Europe will have on, I suppose, the cost of produce here?
Well, I suppose maybe, Greg, it's important to mention first before we get into that discussion that whilst the conflict is going to create financial pain for everybody in Ireland in some shape or form, it's nothing to compare to the pain the Ukrainian people are experiencing at the minute. So I suppose it's important to mention that first. But a lot, from a farming point of view, a lot of the main inputs that a farmer would need. So we talk about the 3 F's, being feed, fuel and fertiliser. A lot of those products would be coming out of either Ukraine or Russia. So Ukraine would be a massive exporter of the likes of wheat and maize, which we need to make animal feed over here. Probably maybe a third of the maize that comes into this country would be coming out of Ukraine.
And we'd love to continue to support their economy, but unfortunately those supply chains for now, and let's hope it reverses soon, are simply closed. So you have to at least, as an interim, seek alternative sources. Are there alternative sources out there that it's...
There is, to an extent, I suppose. Like there would be a bit of French maize coming in here, but like any supply chain, if you take one of the links out of it, you put an awful lot of pressure on the rest of it. So, like the way it would normally work would be from January to March, April, you'd be dependent on maize from that area. And then when you would get into April, May, it would switch to Canadian maize, but it's a long time to May, like if you're trying to feed animals. So it's a huge worry now. It's a huge worry, and at this point in time, we don't really know how it's going to pan out. Like as you said, their supply chains are from that area are just it's not happening. So we don't know. Like.
I mean, if it can be sourced, because that's not guaranteed yet. If it can be sourced, it's going to be more expensive. We already had the conversation last week as it relates to how much of a cut farmers who make the stuff or rear the stuff, how much they get. Like I don't believe farmers can be squeezed anymore. Are those that buy off farmers and sell to consumers, are they going to have to increase their prices and pass that on to farmers?
They will, yeah. There's just no choice in that. Like we're a co-op and a Shown co-op, and we were set up to try and help farmers, and obviously that's exactly what we're trying to do. And from the fertiliser side of things, before we even got into the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, there was huge issues with fertiliser. I'm sure anybody that is involved in agriculture would know, like the price of fertiliser has at least doubled, and in some cases almost trebled in the last 6 to 8 months due to the price of gas, due to the price of shipping, due to raw materials. Russia would have had quotas on and exports. China would have stopped exporting raw materials. So there's huge problems there with fertiliser to begin with, and this is just going to exacerbate the problem. So
then the raw petrol and diesel, in terms of just I mean, that is another cost that farmers are hit with, as we all are. But you add that on. So as I say, our first thoughts are with the people of Ukraine, and even Russian people. They probably have no choice to get involved in what they're. It's impacting everyone, is what I'm saying. Obviously there are innocents and there are people that aren't innocent. I'm talking about the innocents, or the compelled. That's our key concern. But what does the future hold for Irish farmers for 2022 then? I mean, how do we work around this in the last minute that we have, James?
Well, I suppose that's the $50 million question, Greg. I suppose it's a case for this year to, talk to your advisor, talk to like to myself, or talk to whoever you deal with in Chagas, and try and find some sort of way of getting through, which will involve, management practice changes, trying to, like, I suppose, for me, I'm a farmer as well. From my own point of view, what I've done, I would have been using a product called 18612 for a number of years, and I've switched to a different product that will have a higher nitrogen content but lower P and K, so that I'll be able to get on the same level of nitrogen or close to the same level of nitrogen with a smaller tonnage. But then that has a knock-on effect where you're affecting your P and Ks and your soil fertility. So, to be honest with you, Greg, I don't have the answer to that question.
Has to be worked out, yeah.
I suppose what I would advise farmers to do is don't do the same as you always did.
Yeah.
And, try and we're going to have to make cuts where we can. But I suppose this is all going to thread back into where farmers in this country and farmers in other countries, they're going to try and cut input costs. So, at the end of the day, the amount of produce that is produced is going to be lowered, which is going to have a knock-on effect worldwide, and the amount of feed that's there, be it animal feed or going into the food chain. So it is a huge problem.
Not that this is any good to Irish farmers, but imports aren't going to get any cheaper either. Listen, James, we'll talk again, I think, when the picture's a bit clearer. We appreciate you outlining as much as we can because there's so much uncertainty at the moment. Thanks for joining me this morning. I appreciate your time.
All right, Greg.
All right, take care of yourself. James Strain there. That is where we have to leave it on the